course, he's a three-headed dog.
There you go. First words. Of course, he's a three-headed dog.
Perfect.
I should put this in happy chat and stuff.
Now it says I'm subscribed.
Yeah. I didn't have my notifications on, but they're on now. Can I put your link in the happy chat service, or did you do that?
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead. I was going to do it, but if you're already there.
I got to figure this out. Share. There we go.
All honest conversation is good conversation.
For sure. Everybody has a story, man.
Here's my story. Hardcore atheist changes his mind about religious texts. That's my story.
Wait, are you? Oh, yeah, same thing, Tom. You didn't put the StreamYard link in there, though. I get it.
Oh, no, I didn't.
It's okay, I'll do it.
Because then I would have to...
I can't believe it still has that picture as, like, the default background. That picture was literally a part of a meme, like, 11 years ago.
That's what you get for not updating.
Hey, I gave up on live streaming. I used to live stream. I had like, I don't know, somewhere in the range of like 50 to 150 people watch.
Yeah. I've never had that much because what I talk about is so fringe. Almost nobody's interested.
Oh, my rooms were just whatever.
Yeah, I've gotten that kind of population when I talk about whatever.
Yeah. But if someone wanted to come in and argue about something, it'd be cool. Most of the time, I didn't even talk. I started streaming when I became a lieutenant in the fire department. So I had to sit by myself in the officers' lounge so I could have plausible deniability.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was always doing work. I was just in the room. Had the room. I would occasionally say something, and then I would just make sure people could communicate, essentially.
So pretty much just hosting.
Yeah. I hosted, unless there was a call and I had to end the stream, I would host basically all night my work hours, essentially.
Yeah.
And somewhere around, it would all kind of die down around like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And then all of the women that would pop in occasionally to yell at people or argue or whatever, they would come in and fall asleep in the stream listening to me. And you probably don't know who Jello Shots is, but
no.
Me and this other guy, we would just
have
casual conversations about just whatever nonsense, and they just fall asleep to us. They didn't want to fall asleep outside the hangout. They had to be in the hangout.
Well, you did them a real disservice when you stopped doing that.
Yeah, I guess. I listened to a core set of fans. I made the mistake that so many franchises make.
Mm-hmm.
There were a core set of people, and they were by no means the majority of people that showed up. There's like 5 or 6 who were always there that I listened to, and they said, you know what, don't let people like Jill in. Jill wasn't around, but there were a bunch of people like Jill around. Don't let them, we don't want to talk to them anymore. Right now, I was like, okay, fine. I just won't let them in anymore. I stopped inviting them, and then no one wanted to watch. And then, over time, those people leave. And then it's like, well, why even do this? No one's here. No one wants to do it anymore. Like, okay, stop doing it.
I don't think they were completely honest with themselves then.
Yeah, they wanted it. They just got annoyed that they got annoyed, essentially.
I don't know. I admit to myself that I love a good argument. The only problem is I don't usually get them.
That's true. I mean, you tried to have an argument with Jill, but he just basically yelled about a different thing the whole time. You got a yelling at. That's what you got.
Essentially, yeah. It's funny. Certain people in the community will defend persons like that, and I'll say something like, I've never seen them an honest interlocutor, and I'm being serious, and I'm not trying to be insulting. It's just the fact remains. And people will defend them, saying, "Oh, you're just, well, why are you prejudiced against them?" Well, because they're never an honest interlocutor. That's the only problem I have with anybody. There are certain people who do like so much free association that they can't stay on topic enough to have an argument. But I don't hold that against them. I just know better than to have an argument with them.
Yeah. Well, I don't. There is that, but I don't think that's what Jill's doing.
Oh, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think it's a tactic. It's a set of tactics that he's employing, and that he feels like they work. Thereby, he's going to keep using them.
You just made me want to keep on doing live streams.
But I mean, he gets too much free rent in everybody's head for the quality of what he's actually bringing to the table.
Yeah, probably.
And I'm biased, but I don't think I get near enough free space. Not even close.
Are you talking about Jill?
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
He's the entertaining, but he just rambles on, man. Like, you don't even have to try and throw him off track at all. He'll get there.
That's what I'm saying. It's like part of the whole persona is to get off track.
I was just talking to Serb about that while you were having a smoke. I said, fuck, at one point, Tog, New Life, and Jill were making 3 separate arguments against Cerberus about things that Cerberus never argued.
Yeah, my favorite was
when the worst part was when Cerberus would try and tell one of them, "Hey, I didn't say that. That wasn't my argument. I never made that claim." And then all 3 of them just fucking talked right over him. It was fucking amazing. It really was. It blew my fucking mind in a way.
My favorite part of that was the 10 different ways that New Life used something that Jill had said, which was a straw man of Cerberus' position, to argue with Cerberus. That was my favorite.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, when did you stop beating your wife?
Exactly. Like,
come on, guys.
Yeah. Something timeless perspective. New Life was so the gas just came together itself.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
What do you think, Cerberus? The gas just wanted to come together into complex plants? Like, what in the hell are you talking about? Something Jill said.
Did
anyway,
the gas
so that's too much free rent already.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you actually did pretty good, Todd. I think you were actually trying to understand what Cerberus was saying.
I missed it. I mean, you're talking about Richard. Richard, I think, got it. He at least got the parts I was talking
No,
about.
I was talking about Tog. Tog's in the side chat.
Oh.
Tog is usually honest. If distracted, okay, but honest. Peace and respect,
Oh
Wildheart.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I think Tog started getting it more at the end when I started making an analogy.
Mm. So here's my favorite game. Tell me the most ridiculous, impossible part of whatever religious story you like, and I'll try to justify it.
Talking animals, donkeys, snakes, etc.
Okay, so you know that the English societies, several of them, have a lot of their roots in that part of the world. You're already aware of that, yes?
Yeah.
So using expressive language, like using a euphemism, is very popular in that part of the world, and they had a lot of euphemisms. This means actually that thing over there. And you'll find the Spanish language is a lot like that. Like the word for butter is mantequilla, which literally translated is mountain grease, but that's because the greasy stuff comes from the cows on the mountain.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so it's very figurative that way. They're not talking about grease out of the mountain like it just oozes out of them. That's not what they mean. They mean the cows, right? So the Jewish people, the Hebrew people, had a lot of that. Here's one of them. That person has the jawbone of an ass, which means they're thought to be foolish. And over the years, that came to be they bray like an ass. Now that today in our vernacular, they are an ass. We don't mean they're literally, this animal. We don't mean it that way at all, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same idea. Okay, so the talking ass, actually, there's two forms of the word ass in Hebrew, male and female. Okay, now a female ass is sure-footed and dependable and strong and relatively cooperative. In other words, it's the beast of burden that you count on. Right?
Yeah.
And then there's the red-haired ass or the male ass. Now, the male ass is cantankerous, uncooperative. Yeah. You can't get him to do anything. He's got plenty of strength, but he's got all this stubbornness too. So the first thing you need to know about the text is which ass is it? Which form of the word ass are they talking about there? And you have to look that up. Okay? In the talking ass, which I did trouble myself to look up, it actually means female ass. Okay, the good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now riding on her back is this oppressor, right? And she's sure-footed and steady, and riding on her back is this oppressor, and she sees the angel, and the oppressor doesn't. Okay, so the oppressor starts beating the ass, saying, "Why are you doing this to me?" Because he can't see the angel. But the oppressed ass, she sees the angel.
Beat that ass.
Right. So he's beating that ass. That's right. Better clip that. I'm never going to say it again. Okay. So this is another iteration, another attestation that Jesus is thought of as foolish, but telling the truth. And there's this oppressive man, or it could be men. It doesn't really matter. It depends on which situation you're talking about, who are riding his coattails, is how we would say it, riding his back and beating him, abusing him. And why are they doing it? Well, they don't see the angel. Does the story now make sense?
It makes sense, yeah, but my point was, when you asked which is the most ridiculous, I was thinking in a literal sense. So for Christians that think there was a literal talking snake, I mean, that is ridiculous. Now you explain it, yeah. It makes sense. But
well,
I was thinking
like I'm always saying, you have to understand the culture and the idioms of the time.
Yeah.
Or all of it turns out to be Christians saying ridiculous things like snakes talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for the really mundane claims, of course, like so-and-so walked to such and such place. Well, that doesn't seem ridiculous at all.
All right. So if I could turn the question back on you, what is the most ridiculous thing you've heard from any of the religions that isn't a metaphor, that is literal? What is the most literal, ridiculous thing you've heard in religion?
Are you asking atheist me or present me?
Present you. Let's go with present you first. I might come back to atheist you.
What's the most ridiculous? But here's the problem. Only in new, obviously recently made up, obviously invented by a shyster religions,
Mormonism.
I don't see anything ridiculous in any of it.
Right.
So, like I understand that in the Epic of Ramayana, Ram and his brother Lakshman represent the relationship between two brothers or equals, although one's slightly higher, and that's describing the relationship between the father and the son in the Bible, which is why you have the magic spirit guy who can go anywhere, and he's alive even when you're dead, and his name's Hanuman, and he can go through the spirit and the demon world and defeat demons and bring you back to life even though you both just got killed. Stuff like that. So you get the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost right there. And it's the same story, it's just told in a slightly different way. Instead of Christ being crucified, he gets shot with a poisonous arrow, for instance.
What about the atheist you?
I didn't understand the words.
What about the atheist you? That's from your current you.
Oh, from the atheist me, all of it is absolutely insane and ridiculous. It looks like it's a big drug trip. And if I had to choose probably the most ridiculous one, I'd base that assertion on what is evidently and obviously can't have been true at any point.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for instance, the flood narrative. And although there's been water movement, there's been plate tectonics, there's been, huge amounts of soil moved by water, and that's just obvious. But we also have still living insects that can't fly, that would have drowned. And how do we still have those insects, for instance?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much where I am.
Like, how would you keep, for instance, say cockroaches on a boat? How do you get them to stay? Or maybe, like, it would make sense if you could get dung beetles to stay there. Sure.
Yeah. Tiny little cages, just little cages with little metal bars.
The bars are really close together.
I would be under the impression that you wouldn't have to actually ask cockroaches to stay.
They voluntarily stay. But you see
they're
my
probably
point.
already there.
But you see my point. Like, what about us discovering things, right, that didn't exist in that part of the world or in the world at all to be collected, and they're descendants of things that couldn't have been collected, and that it just, the whole thing doesn't work under a traditional Christian view.
And that's another thing I've often wondered about. Like, Christians who believe in the flood often deny evolution.
Sure.
But then there are like billions of species of animal on Earth now. And they admit that there can't have been literally billions of species on the Earth. So they must believe in a kind of super evolution since the flood, which I don't get. They deny evolution, but they must agree with kind of a like super evolution since.
Well, they don't say super evolution. They say something that's more akin to, although they might get more defined than I'm about to. Very fast exercising of epigenetics.
Right.
is probably closer to what they say in answer to that. Like very sudden diversity, okay?
Yeah.
Without being forced by special environment, right, or certain environments, right? But the speciation happened really quickly, which is not the same thing as evolution.
Yeah. But these are the same people that like deny speciation. It's like each animal produces its own kind, and the kinds never change. So at that
Well, that's
point,
a very, very particularly small sect of Christians that will say something like that. Obviously, you can't even rationalize that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like Ken Ham. That kind of.
Yeah, really not knowing the idioms of the time. If you go and look, like in Blue Letter Bible, if you look in the LXX, whatever, the Greek lexicon of the Old Testament, you'll find that in the flood narrative, in the description of the ark, the word wood is not there at all, and they put that in later when they translated it. But it does read gopher. But do you know what a gopher is? The actual animal?
Yeah, the like beaver kind of thing, sharp teeth.
Yeah. And where does that animal reside?
Gopher, North America.
In a hole.
And what are its nesting habits?
Right, okay, yeah.
What did he say? I missed him.
In a hole, I think is what he said.
In a hole. Doubting Thomas with the hole in the screen.
A gopher hole, man.
Yeah, a gopher hole. That's right. And is there anything that's particularly interesting about gophers that make them an especially effective pest?
They like to burrow.
They burrow, yeah. And why is that troublesome?
Well, if you like a nice lawn, you can leave tracks on your lawn.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen the movie Caddyshack, you know all about gophers.
Yep. Because Caddyshack may as well be gopher bibliography.
Exactly.
So gophers burrow into the ground, and they're really hard to get rid of. Like once they've settled on some place, they get stubborn about it. So like if a gopher burrows under the foundation of your house, I don't know, you're gonna have to like pour gasoline down inside there and light it on fire or something. You're not getting rid of that gopher.
If that's what I got to do.
If that's what I got to do. So the whole point of them mentioning gopher is that gopher is something that's permanently housed. It takes up permanent residence and you can't get rid of it. So it's the idea of permanent residence. That's the idea of gopher. But they couldn't understand that because they didn't know the idiom, right? So they wrote in that gopher was a kind of wood. We have no history of anyone ever having something they called gopher wood. There was never any such thing.
What kind of wood was it?
It was a tree wood, but it wasn't gopher wood. You might notice that there's no gopher tree.
It sounds like
a challenge. What kind of tree was it?
It's undescribed. When they mention the kinds of woods they normally mention are like cedars of Lebanon, or they mention cinnamon and variations of cheaper cinnamon, cassia. They mention all those kinds of wood, but they never there's no such thing as, from that time space, anything called gopher wood. And in fact, as far as I know, worldwide, there's no gopher tree and no gopher wood.
Well, what did they mean by the word gopher? Were there gophers back then?
Permanently housed. Yes, there were gopher animals. Yes. It's the idea of something that's stubbornly, permanently housed.
How many kinds of gophers are there?
I have no idea. But they all act like gophers, as far as I understand.
Oh, so that's bad.
what is that? Girls
How
are
could-
like
how could they-
parking spots. All the good ones are taken. So every once in a while, when no one's looking, you got to stick it in the disabled one.
Oh,
That's weird.
That's what my dad said. No port. He said, "Any port in a storm, son."
any port in the storm. Do.
But that's fine. That would be a problem on the Ark. If you had gophers and like moles, wouldn't they chew through your ship? Or beavers, wouldn't they make a mess of the ship?
Actually, rats, in fact, most of the rodent family would do that. They just chew out of their cages. You got to have metal.
Yeah.
Well, not really. What if you had an all-powerful God?
Well, now you're back to God magic, in which case you don't have to explain anything.
Right. If God doesn't want them chewing up the ark, they're not going to chew up the ark.
Right. It's only a heck of a lot of special pleading.
I was arguing with Geo about personal revelation.
And from the point of not believing in it yourself and just defending the argument, or
no, he said personal. You can justify anything with personal revelation.
That doesn't make it true or false, though.
I know. I asked him to justify the Tao of poo, and he did. And then I asked him if he was now a pooist, and I don't think he would accept that. Yeah,
well, see what makes.
Well, that was his point. You could justify it. It doesn't make it true.
Right, but what's the point in justifying something that isn't true? Who cares?
Well, because it's personal. Because it makes you feel better.
Well, that's fine for personal edification and maybe exercising more bias in the future. I guess it's okay for that.
Well, as long as you can justify it, who gives a fuck?
Me? I'm one who has a field full of them.
Right, but it's your personal revelation and your justification, so...
Right. Which is why I'd rather talk about what makes sense right now.
Well, if it's all just personal, then what makes sense to you might be nonsensical to others.
All right, that's why I want to talk about what makes sense to you instead of me.
Oh.
Which is why I ask, does that make sense?
Plus, I think Geosan might have been confusing, like they say, like personal revelation is evidence for you, but not evidence for anyone else. I don't know whether that is the same as justification.
Well, yeah, he's basically saying it's not a reliable path to truth, personal revelation.
Yeah.
I invited him in, but I think he's mad at me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm a JTB correspondence theorist, So
yeah,
what I believe is irrelevant, but what I can show in reality, that's what matters.
To who?
Oh, I have some questions about JTB. I've been watching some videos recently.
Yeah.
It's justified true belief.
Yeah.
But what if you don't know whether it's true or not?
Then it's not justified.
Right. So if someone claims that they know God exists, it could be true. But even if it was true, they wouldn't be justified in knowing it. because
that's an unjustified true belief.
Yeah. So no one can claim to know God exists.
It depends.
Like a happy accident.
People can be. I mean, the Gettier problems you find happily correct. Accident, right for all the wrong reasons, and that happens in reality. Sometimes people are right for all the wrong reasons.
But if you have bad reasons for believing it, that would still mean they aren't justified, even if it was true.
Correct.
If the reasons you have,
Does everything happen for a reason?
Does everything happen for a reason? If you're talking about physics, yes.
No, I'm talking about everything.
Physics is the reason for everything happening.
And would I be right in saying everything has a cause? So
not necessarily.
No.
Well, it's hard for us to talk about, first of all, with our brains, and second of all, with our language. So those are pretty big problems right there. And we're going back to the beginning of all things that exist, or what reality is, right? So if I say like B theory of time, everything always was. If I say A theory of time, well, you can show that A theory of time is probably not right. But then everything is linear and in time. Well, what about time itself and material itself? Well, you can't have time without material, so it's simultaneity. So at the same time, at some distant past, time was and things were. Something like that. So you see how thick into the smoke and mirrors and thick into the weeds you're going to get with that real quick.
Yeah.
And frankly, my education isn't up to it.
Obviously, mine neither.
Did you go to college, Mr. Atheist?
Yeah. Do you have a PhD?
That poor guy.
Which poor guy?
New Life is his name. Am I getting that right?
New Life said that? Did you go to college?
Yeah, he asked if I went to college, and when I said, well, yeah, he said, I'm sorry.
He felt sorry for Sir because college kept him dumb.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a special character, New Life. I like him.
It was amazing. Amazing.
I mean, I love him as a fellow human. I don't think I like him.
Yeah, I get your point. He's fun. I'll put it that way.
I guess it depends on your definition of fun.
I don't want to see bad things happen to him, but I don't, about it.
I wish good things would happen to him, like studying classical Aristotelian logic. That would be a good thing to happen to him. Just a real brief study.
Oh. I hope he has clean socks.
Did you guys happen? Well, I don't know if Wildheart was watching or not, but did you guys catch the part where I said I use both the scientific method and classical logic, and
I heard you say it.
And Jill called that liberal scholarship.
Yeah.
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 That's why I like that. That's one of his go-to. I'm going to throw this out there and see if it sticks. Liberal scholarship.
What did he say? Postmodernistic materialism or something like that. What did he say?
Yeah.
So, and I said, Jill, it's in the title, classical. It's not postmodern. It's not even modern. This goes back to like Aristotle.
Yeah, but that studying people who would study Aristotle are definitely postmodern materialists and physicalists. They liberals. Yeah.
Yeah. He called me materialist while I was in the room arguing that there could be something outside of the physical universe.
Well, I think as soon as we consider, constructs like languages and maths and things like that, there might be evidence of them happening in our head in the material world, but they themselves don't exist in the material world. Like you can't show me A-ness or B-ness or C-ness. You can't point to the actual original letter A. There isn't one.
Well, to get even more trippy, you can't point to thingness either.
Right.
I used to love talking about thingness.
Yeah. Yeah, thing itself is a concept to describe material objects. It's part of the definition of a noun, a person, place, thing, or idea. Right? So people try to tell me that immaterial constructs don't exist. It's like it's 1/4 of what a noun is. What do you mean they don't exist?
Spooky.
Spooky,
Out there. He's out there being British right now.
Show me anus. That's fine.
Now, don't be changing the spelling. That's not what I meant. Why I went on to say B-ness and C-ness. That's why I went on to do that, because I knew somebody. Somebody was going to do that.
I didn't even get
it. To my people and where I come from, riding someone's coattails means their coattails are long enough that they're dragging the floor, and you're like sitting or standing on the pieces of cloth on the floor, and it's their movement forward that pulls you. So that's what riding their coattails means.
And yeah, I think that's probably where it started. I think what spooky, because it means like metaphorically, like someone who's doing better than you, like riding their coattails means like, like scrounging off them or something. But I think
you've grabbed literally onto their coattails as they're making progress and they're dragging you along.
Yeah.
Which is fine when that's what you claim. Like if I refer to correspondence theory, for instance, I didn't make the original observations and write down my observations about correspondence theory. I'm actually counting on someone else already having done that. But if I got up that, if I presented correspondence theory as if I'd come up with it, now I'm riding his coattails.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of a form of theft. So overall, that story is it's generally true, but then it's specifically about the Antichrist and the Christ. And it's not the only time they call the Christ a she-ass. He's called a she-ass several times.
Yeah.
Because the she-ass is the good one, the dependable one that does all the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get the analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Sure-footed, stable, secure, hard worker, all that good stuff. Also, when it uses several times camel, bull, sheep, it's talking about people who act like a sheep, a mindless follower who can't take care of themselves. Sheep. And you can tell it's talking about people actually when you look into the etymology of the words, because it starts assigning personality to the animal. Personality traits that only humans have.
So when it says that like Jesus is the shepherd and all the followers of sheep, that's kind of an insult when you look at it like that.
Yes, that's correct. It's saying the people who follow aren't thinking. That's why he calls them sheep.
Oh, you people that can't look after yourselves and you don't know.
That's why it's important to claim to be the good shepherd, not just any old shepherd. You have to be a good shepherd and actually take care of the sheep that trust you. And you also have the example of the... Sorry, go ahead.
What if I'm a shitty shepherd? Should I still claim to be the good shepherd?
Why not? Televangelists do.
Okay.
But the televangelist's only there for the shearing, you know?
Right.
That's what makes him a bad shepherd.
I think I got my stuff figured out.
Wait a minute. Are we shearing shepherds now?
Oh, you can, but you're not going to get much yield.
Oh, I'm confused.
I'm talking about shepherds that shear, not shearing shepherds. Unless by that you meant the verb shearing shepherds, as in shepherds that shear. In which case, yes.
Shearing shepherds.
Meaning shepherds that shear, as in like shearing is a task.
Surely.
How about problem of evil? What about that?
Okay.
I think you can't. I don't think you can justify unnecessary suffering, especially, as soon as you say something like very young person with incurable disease is in a lot of physical pain and will perish. I don't think you can justify that.
Oh, I can. Come on.
No, sorry, can I take it back? Isn't unnecessary suffering, by definition, you can't justify it? Because in the title it says unnecessary. So can you justify something that is, by definition, unnecessary?
Right. I'm using the term that the person presenting the argument might make, saying it's gratuitous suffering.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't believe that it's actually unnecessary, nor do I believe that it can't be justified.
It's all part of the plan.
It's a what?
It's all part of the plan.
I believe it is, and here's why I think it is necessary and justifiable. I think you could not have human beings in a large group living long-term in harmony without some at least small portion of that population understanding what suffering is and why it's important to keep it out of that society. I think it would, you could say, naturally creep in.
But wouldn't that be, wouldn't that be necessary suffering then? You just
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you just have enough suffering that's necessary, so you get the point.
So you could actually justify any amount of suffering in that scenario. For instance, what if pregnancy and childbirth was 5 times more painful than it is now? Would a woman getting pregnant a second time, knowing what it meant, still be justified because she just wanted to have a baby? Of course she'd be.
What about if we take it out of humans and take it like to animals, like a forest fire with a baby deer that gets killed for no, that's unnecessary suffering. There's no the other deer aren't going to learn a lesson from that, and there's nothing they can do about it anyway.
Oh,
so
this is very species specific. It's not about the deer learning a lesson. It's about you feeling sorry for the deer who didn't learn a lesson.
Right. So it's just about humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay.
But I don't think the God described in the Bible would apply to anything but human being anyway. Like, how do I know that all intelligent species everywhere in the universe need or should value conservation of materials or conservation of energy? Maybe they shouldn't. Or wisdom. I don't know they need that.
When a bug hits your windshield and dies, did its life have meaning?
Sure. You just mentioned it.
What's the last thing that goes through a fly's mind as it hits your windscreen? It's ass.
Well, because the way they think, oh, I thought you were going to let me finish it.
Their ass.
Yeah.
I thought you were setting it up so I could knock it down, and I was going to.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say something like, well, what's necessary in evolution demands that, it's set and make something up and then just say it's ass. Yeah.
What are we looking at, sir? I can't see it.
Oh, I'm testing. It's a zoomed out version of a
flowchart. Yeah.
Yeah, flowchart. Kind of like a mind map, though, too. I'm trying to copy. I have all these little flowcharts and arguments and stuff on the regular sheets of paper. I'm trying to copy them all over and connect them together where they connect.
Yeah.
So I can have one big map of arguments. Huh. And I was just testing to see the delay between me working on something and it popping up.
I think you're mistaking the argument for the map.
Oh, I should have brought that up to you, Jill. I was thinking a couple days ago. I read Genesis again, and I think actually there's a case to be made that God is just the Holy Spirit, and the Father and the Son are just incarnations.
I think there's an argument to be made that God is a set of standards for interactions, like demanding that you use wisdom, knowledge, counsel, understanding, fear, power, conservation, right? But when you're doing certain things, which is why an angel is always performing something for the God, because it takes a living being to enact those immaterial constructs. Just like it takes a human to be a humanitarian. There's no humanitarian effort with no humans actually doing it, It's just a thought. It doesn't do anything. So then the total interactions that are in the stories are being carried out by angels in end times. So it's like a rules of engagement for end times. Something like that, and that's the only time it applies. So it's funny to me that that's something that's that's that specific and for that specific purpose should become like an internationally argued religion. Because it would mean that the angels wouldn't think of it as permanent.
I don't know. I think historically, I think it can make sense historically too. Because if you go back in time, all those older gods, right? Like back when cities had their own individual god, right? They had
Sure.
the big statue that was the god.
Sure.
That statue god was literally an embodiment of the city.
Sure.
That's why we have texts where the priests of different cities are saying that the god will protect, while referencing the actual soldiers that are doing the protecting,
Sure.
because they're part of the god. So then to say God is a god to people in this area in the distant past is just a combination of concepts squished together.
Yeah.
Sort of like another way of saying nation. It's not the same thing, but similar.
No, I'm absolutely fine with that because it's the Yod He Vav He Elohim that actually do the things. They are the city, or they are that army.
Built this city
on rock and roll. REO Speedwagon, I think.
Jefferson Starship.
Dang, it's Jefferson Starship. Yeah.
Or airplane, I'm not sure which.
I think it's Starship by then.
I had an argument about what's new metal. So my brain's like 3+ decades ahead of you right now. I can't relate.
You mean new metal, like heavy metal?
No, new metal like NU. New metal. It's a genre.
Yeah, new metal is when metal went wrong. Metal was fine. New metal is just. You know.
New metal is metal that has a creepy vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was indeed Starship.
Starship was creepy metal?
Oh, what?
No, the song.
Oh.
That was Starship.
No, classic rock.
We built this city. No.
Okay, I thought of an example that I think everyone in the room probably would know. Marilyn Manson's music is a blend of industrial and new metal.
Yeah. Although I do like Marilyn Manson, so my previous statement was wrong.
Like Korn?
Yeah. Yeah.
They created it. You said you don't like new metal.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like. Alright then. I don't like new metal. I like the original new metal. I don't like the new metal. Everyone knows music stopped being good in 1994. Everyone knows
it. I think that's when music started to go bad. I think there was 6 years there where it was 94 to 2000 where it was just kind of okay. I like Nirvana, but then when everyone tried to be Nirvana, it upset me.
Yeah.
That just sounds like you'd have more of what you like if it worked. What's the pink dangly thing in the middle of your chart?
The penis.
Oh hell, I even forgot I had that up. Which part is that? I have to actually go look at it.
Looks like a penis to me.
Oh, it's pink. Pink is the color code I'm using to show that there's a there's a connection and I haven't added to it yet, so it
Oh,
tells me
okay.
to come back. But in that part of the flow chart, there's a contradiction that's happened, and one of the ways to get out of it is to claim the Bible isn't true, like literally true. And that's where the pink thing comes down to. It's where that next part of the chart will be added.
I think some things are evidently, obviously, literally true, and the rest of it is what's that expression?
Metaphorically
It's figuratively true.
Figuratively. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, the chart that I'm going to add there parses those two things apart.
Yeah.
So then we can come back around to see if there's another contradiction.
Like saying, Jesus is the door should not be taken as made of wooden planks joined together, including some hardware that have hinges, and a hasp on the other side. It shouldn't mean that. But does it mean that Jesus is a gateway or an entryway or a way to pass through a wall that's otherwise impassable? Yes, it does mean that. So it's figuratively true. Wildheart, I tried to watch the show where you talked about being on Aces and having some arguments, but I couldn't watch all of it because you didn't know where the timestamps were. And I just couldn't watch all of it and watch you struggle trying to find the timestamps. Did you ever figure that out?
No, we ended up getting to the end of the first argument I won with Ace about the Bible not being literally true, which was fairly simple, but it took a while. But I didn't get to the second argument against Bill about God is not love.
What was the literally true argument?
Basically, I mean, there were lots of examples, but the one was when Paul says that his child, he's in prison and he says, my child, and he didn't have any children. So that by itself demonstrates that the Bible isn't literally true. I get that it's metaphor and that's obvious, but I was just arguing against like Bible literalists that says, the whole Bible is literally true. Well, it's clearly not. I mean, it's not a great argument. It's just blindingly obvious. Do you know what I mean? But
right,
yeah, it does demonstrate that the Bible isn't literally true. If Paul says "my child" and he doesn't have any children, then it's not literally true. That was it.
Yeah, I think there's parts that are intended by the author to be taken literally, and other parts that are figurative, but all the subject matter is very important, and the conclusion you're supposed to draw from it, all those conclusions are literally true.
Yeah, but yeah, I get that, but my argument was the Bible isn't literally true.
Right.
And they seem to have reason Ace seems to have trouble agreeing with that. He said it's I said, so we can both agree that the Bible isn't literally true. He says, well, it's beautiful. And then I said again, so we can both agree the Bible isn't literally true. So that I don't care if it's true. And then I said, so we can both agree the Bible isn't literally true. And he said, no, but I like it. So
okay.
Yeah, I still don't know his position on it, to be honest.
Those all sound like expressions of personal biases.
Yeah.
That's what those all sound like.
Yeah, he couldn't bring himself to say the Bible isn't literally true. Oh, the Bible isn't true.
We'd be better off saying what I think, what I said. I think.
Yeah, which I agree.
Obviously it's split up, and you have to know when it's being figurative and when it's being literal, and for that you need at least a consistent reading frame to sort something like that out.
Yeah.
Not that consistency shows something is true, but inconsistency shows something can't be true.
Yeah. That's your baseline. Yeah.
What if you had a revelation? Would you still need to read it consistently?
Well, tell me about the revelation, and we'll see if the revelation is even consistent within itself. Because that's the first step to disproving something, so eventually it could be proven true.
How could you disprove a revelation that I had?
Well, I'd start out with, is it consistent with itself?
How would you know?
I'd ask you questions about it, like, what's the revelation? That's a good place to start. And then as you described it, I would pay really, really good attention. I really deeply pay attention to whatever you say and see if it's internally consistent or if it's self-defeating.
What if it was revealed consistently to me, yet inconsistently to you?
No, it can't be consistent to you and inconsistent to me. One of us have flawed logic.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Yeah, because consistency is just whether or not there is both A is A and A is B. Unless you're just renaming A and calling it B, and it's still actually A, which is the only way that's plausible.
I'm pretending it's logic, but I'm calling it faith.
Okay, you can call logic faith. That's fine. You can label it whatever you like. But the question is it consistent within itself to start with?
Plus, it goes back to what you were saying before as well, like revelation. Okay, for the person, because lots of different people of different faiths have different revelations from different gods, so they can't all be true. So it all kind of falls per revelations. It can be evidence for you.
I think if God is all powerful, he could make it true for everybody.
Sure, they just have to have each their own reality. Wait a minute, they already have each their own reality.
Yeah. I agree, God could do that. He clearly hasn't. That's the problem.
Then you get into problems like, is the person consistent even in their own perception of reality, or are they compartmentalizing and they just don't realize they're doing that?
Maybe reality is revealed to you differently than it's revealed to others.
Well, then you just describe subjectivism.
Yeah.
Well, the actuality is not subjective, and it doesn't care what I think about. It doesn't matter in real ways what I think about the actuality.
How do you know?
Because that's what logically follows. It's actually demanded.
What?
Like, you can define something however you want. You can look at it from whatever angle you want. You can believe whatever you want about that thing, but none of that changes the thing.
Right.
Well, when I say objective, I mean the actual thing, not my opinion of the thing.
Right. That's why it's not objective. It's subjective.
No, my experience of the thing is subjective. Its existence is objective.
Its existence is objective.
Yes.
What if you don't exist? You're just a figment in my imagination.
I don't know, Tog. What if I don't exist?
Touche. Also, Hillary is backstage, I think.
Oh, I didn't get a noise. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's really quiet.
I've got a question for Richard.
Mm.
If you measure the position of an electron and I measure its momentum, then what?
Mm-hmm. Then what? Then we're going to get two different ideas about its superposition, I guess?
Yeah. Where is the electron?
Can we communicate the information to each other?
I don't know that much about electrons, bro. Use something simpler.
It's no, I can't. It just breaks. It's just pointing out that I don't believe there is an objective reality. I think that it is inherently subjective. And either you and I have to break timelines and we're in different states of existence or something, because you can't know both the momentum and the position of a subatomic particle.
Right.
I thought that's what you were getting at. You're not inside my brain, as far as I know. You don't have access to my thoughts.
Yeah, we're all in a consensus reality. We're not in an objective reality, I believe.
So if you and I
are experiencing a consensus reality, that doesn't mean there isn't an objective reality, whether any of us can sense it or not.
That's
if you and I go to the carnival and we see what you think is a Ferris wheel and what I think is a Ferris wheel, does that mean we objectively know what a Ferris wheel is?
Nope.
No, I think the point is it either is a Ferris wheel or it's not a Ferris wheel. What you or anyone else thinks about it isn't important. It doesn't matter.
But what is a Ferris wheel, Wildheart?
Well, that will come down to you'd ask me. Yeah,
I think what I think about it is the only thing that matters.
Functionally, I would agree.
Or at least maybe the only way it matters to you anyway.
Yeah, that's functional. And your ability to communicate with others is also important. You need to communicate your idea to others. Even if I call it a carousel and you call it a Ferris wheel, as long as you can describe its attributes to me and I agree, then we're still okay.
You know, a dog, that thing you put your food in when you just got back from the grocery store and it's colder inside than it is in the room. A dog.
Yeah. With the crisper for vegetables.
Absolutely. Every dog should have a crisper.
So if you and I are in a room with a dog, and we're looking at that dog, are we looking at the same dog?
We're probably in the kitchen together.
And if you're petting it, I'm looking at you weird.
Like, you know, it has no nerve endings, right?
Yeah.
Come here, babe.
So then, from our subjective point of view, how could we show that there is anything objective whatsoever? And if that's what you mean, I agree with you. But that only means that we can't test the objective, not that the objective doesn't exist. And it makes me wonder if there's a rational argument for the necessity of the objective that we can't observe and know. And it seems to me there probably is, or should be.
Until you made the last statement, I agree with everything that you had said previously.
Right. Well, it was designed that way. But the hard part comes at the end.
Well, it's restated because since I was thinking, I didn't really hear what you said.
Okay, so grant subjective experience, and what parts of it we share and i.e. agree upon, right?
Well, just
Science
state the
is
last
math.
sentence because I didn't hear the last sentence.
Okay, so the last sentence is, I would think there's already a strong argument for the necessity of the objective.
Only presuppositionalism.
You have to presuppose it? You have to?
That's the only argument that I'm aware of. All the rest of them say that there is no necessity for an objective anything. All that you need is a functional.
Okay, so let's say I can say something like, the philosopher who made the observation, creating the conundrum, this sentence is false, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is actually trying to say that because I can make a sentence that is obviously false no matter how you look at it,
but it's
then
not.
There must be, what's that?
But it's not false no matter how you look at it. This is when we get into multi-value logic. Multi-value logic.
Okay, explain how it could be true.
Well, we have to equivocate on what the word false means.
Oh, okay. What do we do? Just change the definition of false?
We look at some niche or proprietary definition for it. And like computers, when they have logic gates, they have all kinds of weird logic gates, like XOR and NAND. Yeah.
Yeah.
NOR, exclusive OR.
Mm-hmm.
Ha ha.
Get him.
Yeah, you have what or and nor NAND, like that, logic gates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
is there a multi-valued logic that, I don't know if that would make anything false or true if you just analyze it with a multi-valued logic?
You know, like Richard was saying earlier about the refrigerated dog, words are just whatever values we assign to them.
Sure.
So that statement could mean any number of things. You know, this sentence is false. Well, is this truly a sentence? What makes something real or false? Does it have artistic merit?
Yeah, it's usually defined in the theory, though.
Well, I think the point of the question is only to point out one thing and one thing alone. So when you start asking questions like what's its aesthetic value, what's not intended for us, and now you're using it for something else. Now you're rewriting its definition, which is fine. You can do that, but it's not the same thing anymore. So,
well, you're
to say something like this. Well, it's fine to repurpose it as long as we admit that we're repurposing it. We're not using it as it was intended.
Yeah.
It's the same thing subjectively.
That's right, DC. Exactly.
No, in that case, you're just wrong. It's not the same thing. When you've changed its usage, it's not the same thing.
Subjectively, it is. Objectively, no.
Ask any woman how the end of that butter knife got twisted, and she'll say it's a screwdriver. Well, then it's not a butter knife, is it?
Well, that's the difference between something being objectively true or not, and
still the butter knife to you.
Well, that part's the subjective part, yeah.
Subjectively, yeah.
See,
why else would you call it a butter knife?
Now she doesn't set it in front of polite company. She only uses it to turn flathead screws.
I bet you could still spread cream cheese on a bagel with it, that screwdriver.
Oh, now we're talking about how effective it is and in what purpose and state.
Yeah.
Usage.
Yay, teleology.
It might be just as useful. It could be.
You could spread butter with a Phillips screwdriver.
Yeah. Especially if your butter container is locked down with a flathead screw. Then it's both access to the butter and spreading of the butter, which makes it maybe the perfect butter knife.
Well, if you had a Phillips screwdriver,
yeah,
you might have a hard time turning a flathead screw with it.
Oh yeah, you pretty much got to hold it at about the same angle that the tip is ground, which is something about a 20, I suppose, and then rotate the non-gripping end around in a circular fashion at that same angle to the head of the screw in order to unscrew a flat tip with a Phillips bit.
Why wouldn't
I've
you
done
just
it.
use a butter
Not
knife?
easy. I wish I'd had a butter knife at the time. It'd been better.
Piece of rubber does wonders too.
Piece of rubber used how?
You put a piece of rubber on top of the screw and then push down on the screwdriver into the rubber and turn counterclockwise to loosen. Yeah, righty tighty, lefty loosey.
Unless it's left-hand thread, of course.
Right.
But there's an underlying question here that I think we have to answer first. Are we spreading the butter with the knife or the bread?
You're spreading with the knife because the bread could be could be or normally even is stationary.
I think the bread is using me to spread the butter. I'm just a passive participant.
Yeah. Are you even spreading the butter, or is this the will of the bread?
That's right. It's the will of the bread.
I like to think I'm using the bread to scrape the butter off of the knife.
Yeah. I'm not spreading butter. I'm cleaning a knife.
Yep.
I like to think of it as the holes in the bread have a feeling of emptiness about them and prefer to be filled with butter.
Yeah, you're making them whole. That's sweet.
I'm making them feel complete.
and now everyone's watching.
They make me feel complete.
If you warm it up, butter seeks its own level.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Now everyone watching knows what it feels like to walk into a library in ancient Greece.
Yeah. Or a dorm room at 1 a.m.
Yeah. Full of potheads.
What if you went to Sparta with a stick 2 feet long at noon and put it in the ground 1 foot deep, and then I went to Crete at noon and put the same thing in the ground?
Now I just want to make sure 2 feet is 1 1/3 cubits, right? Because they didn't have feet back then.
Right, approximately 3.8 hands.
Okay.
And how is it oriented? This stub?
Perpendicular
when you say it's
to
a
the
foot
ground.
in the ground, you mean you're using it as a dead man to anchor a tent, and it's all submersed and flat to the horizon?
I'm putting it vertical in the ground. Plumb.
Vertical.
Plumb.
So pointing away from the core of the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in line with a ray that would radiate from the core of the planet through the crust.
Right.
Okay, fair enough.
And then we're going to look at the shadow that those two sticks cast at noon.
Okay.
And we're going to figure some shit out. I'm still in the library in ancient Greece trying to think of what the kind of shit they would have said.
Yeah.
Are you triangulating the distance to the sun? Is that why?
I think he's getting the diameter of the Earth.
So. Yeah, they measure the diameter of the Earth. And in fact, it's round.
I think you should be able to get the well, I guess you can't because you don't know how big the sun is. If you knew how big the sun was, you could get the distance with that measurement.
The closer a light source, the less refraction you get from atmosphere. So that's why shadows have a blur around them when the shadow is from the sunlight, whereas a flashlight would not have the same blur problem, make a very crisp line. So from that, you should be able to tell how far the sun is away from the object.
I don't know if you have the tools.
I think it's around 93 million miles.
I think it's about 8 light minutes.
I think it's exactly 1 AU.
Oh, Serb goddess.
But wait a minute. Is that
to the surface or to the core?
Well, surface. Yeah, is 1 AU measured at perihelion?
No, it's measured on the average.
Okay.
So I mean, actually, the Earth is only exactly 1 AU from the sun twice.
Did you use the root mean squared method to get your average?
I have no clue what they used.
Oh, all right.
I just know there's a big bundle of information that I'm not aware of inside the measuring unit, astronomical unit.
I was going to point out that because of variations in the orbit, we're almost never 8 light minutes away.
That's kind of subjective, isn't it?
Almost never.
Almost never. Very, very infrequently.
I like Spooky's answer.
Yeah, a minimum of 15 feet across. I agree. Even if it's on the dome, the Earth dome, that would still be true.
Mm-hmm.
What about the wobble?
The dome doesn't wobble.
The Earth wobbles.
Yeah, that brings up something that I can't have fun with flat Earth debate.
Mm-hmm.
Because even the people arguing against them, I think, are a little stupid.
Yeah.
Right, because they have that disk Earth, right? And then they have like the sun going around it up top. And even if they want to say the sun's like a lamp, so the light only shines on one part at a time, none of the people arguing against them says, okay, now take a piece of string and place one end on the Earth and put the other on the sun. Explain to me how that, and then move the sun around in the circle that it goes. Explain to me how that translates to falling behind an horizon. I've never seen anyone that argues against them do that. That should be the end of it. You don't have to do a bunch of math. You don't have to measure the size of the Earth or anything else.
The sun doesn't really fall over the horizon. It's the fucking refraction gets stronger.
Yeah, but
as the heat rises during the day, the refraction gets stronger, and then it turns into night.
See, I don't even know if that would work as an explanation for them, because
I think it's dark matter.
They say the horizon is like how you draw in a picture, where it's just the things coming together far enough away you can't separate them. It's not like it's falling behind, it's just disappearing because of your lack of vision.
See, Doubting Thomas's answer is exactly why I drew this chart.
I believe they call what Service was just talking about. It has something to do with gradient of texture.
Yeah.
Not just a pretty fucking face, fellas.
And because they think the sky is always above us, right? All the sky is above you. That
Yeah,
means
the
as long as
dome.
the sun, they don't.
The
No,
dome.
that's the dome.
Oh, the dome. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, they
Sorry.
don't all say dome. So, I'm trying to make it general. But yeah,
Okay.
they never. That means, given that model, the sun should disappear into the distance in the sky, not go behind an horizon. Right? That what was the word, Doubting Thomas, you just used?
Texture.
Gradient of texture.
Yeah, the gradient and texture should happen in both directions.
Right, and I want to know why the gradient of texture is not consistent in the atmosphere. Why it's most dense around the North Pole.
Is it most dense on the North Pole?
It's why the railroad, the rails on railroad track, if you look at it in the distance, it's why they appear to get closer together the further away they are.
No, that's absolutely fine.
By that, do you mean why do you see more texture farther? Is that what you're asking?
No. I'm asking why the opacity of the atmosphere changes in the center of their map, so that equidistant half the Earth can be lit up, except past the North Pole, where the other side of the Earth doesn't get lit up by the same distance.
Oh, yeah. That's all easily explained with the atmospheric refraction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is the atmosphere more refractive in some places than others? And how does it stay that way?
So the atmosphere moves in mysterious ways.
Sorry, I've got to go to church. I mean, the atheist experience has just started. So cheers.
Okay.
Good luck. Godspeed.
I'm sure Matt Dillahunty would love that if people started calling that church.
I don't know.
Probably drive him nuts.
What is it?
I don't
the
know.
Atheist experience? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not even on that anymore, is he?
No.
I wondered that also, but I'm ignorant, so I didn't say.
I think he parted. I think he left.
Yeah, he parted ways with them a couple years ago, I think.
Oh, he didn't just leave, but let's not get into it.
Yeah, he got kicked out because he was like being a jerk. But
I
Jill,
think it may have had to do with the LGBT community.
Yeah, it had to do with his new girlfriend.
I mean, we're not going to stay out of it.
I'm not afraid, Cerberus.
I don't know.
Jill says that he wants you to know that he's a flat earther.
Oh, right on.
Oh, is that the real Jill? Did Jill come find my channel, or was he subscribed?
Well, you got 81 subs. You know, I was surprised when I got the notice you went live. I'm like, he never has whatever panels.
He claims that his destruction of your chart was enough to make you angry. It sure sounds like Jill.
Oh, wow.
Huh? No, that's true.
I've never seen Serb that angry. Not even when they fucking shamed him for having a college degree. Yeah. I didn't know if you were going to... I was wondering how you were going to handle that. It felt like it kind of hurt when he said that to you.
Yeah, doctor.
Yeah, doctor. I don't even put doctor in front of my name. I should.
I think you should make everybody address you as doctor from now on.
No. That's
or try to. Demand it.
I think Jill should call me a doctor. That's the only one.
I think Jill should call a doctor.
He's called me professor before, but he's being facetious.
Of course.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear, Service.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Jill keeps appearing in these shows.
Simus is backstage.
Yeah, I just saw. I'm not getting bings. I thought I'm supposed to get bings.
You're supposed to get a bing. Peace and respect, Simon.
I think
Bada bing,
you have to be registered doctor to get bings.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
I think you're just a little rusty. You got your bings turned off somewhere.
Hmm.
And any minute now, you're going to say, "Oh, that's it. I forgot to flick the ding button in the settings section under the."
Oh, he's gone already. I was going to
layout.
say peace and respect to Richard, but he's gone.
Oh,
He'll be back.
I'm not gone, and thank you, and peace and respect to you as well.
Thank you. Hello, Hillary's.
Hello, Simus. Did you get a lot of good headshots on your Z Day?
No. Well, yeah, a couple. I got a couple. You know, it's been tough recently. That's all. Been tough. But that's the game. You know, it's life. You know, it's life.
Fuck it, do it live. Hi, Simus.
Oh, hello. How's your sister?
Pretty good.
Excellent. How you doing? Yeah, I heard you on somebody's channel earlier, Thomas.
I was on somebody's channel?
Yeah, I was worried about you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Whose channel was I on? Togs?
Togs, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Why were you worried? Do you think Togg's going to lead me astray?
No. Well, I mean, maybe. I don't really know. Now I'm a flat earther just to piss Serb off more. Does it piss you off?
Oh, wow.
If Jill's a flat earther? I mean, wouldn't that piss you off? Yeah,
I might actually start having fun with flat earther if he was a flat earther.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just a challenge. Let's see how much humor we can get out of that. I mean, let's face it. You know, he doesn't know what longitude is, so.
Well, it's the long way around.
Oh,
yeah.
It's the long way around. Yeah, it's just long way around a sphere. Yes.
No, I remember.
And a prognosis comes before the diagnosis.
It's prognosis before the diagnosis. Oh, well, that one's great.
Yeah.
That one is a good one. I like it a lot. And then there's also Neanderthal built the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
That was a classic. I asked him about it in a Christian room. I don't even know whose it was, probably Togs again. But I asked him about it with Veckel was in the room. And he said no such thing.
Don't forget there is no Z coordinate. When I do math, there is no Z coordinate.
Wow. Really?
Wow.
That's what Jill said.
Impressive.
Yeah.
He does it.
I guess that would be true if you were on the Cartesian plane, I believe.
Well, that's true. If you're on a plane.
On any plane. Yeah. Planes are only X and Y.
Well, yeah.
Well, horizontal plane. I mean, a vertical plane. Yeah, of course, that would be Y. And well, still there wouldn't be.
She's gonna say.
Yeah, there's still no Z.
Still X and
Y. Yeah, no, it could be in Z and. Well, yeah, it could be any Z, Y, or X. I mean,
what if it was alpha and omega?
I suppose it's not a plane then, is it? Yeah, okay. And there is another coordinate system which doesn't have a Z in as well, isn't there? That one, the circular one.
Polar coordinate?
I can't remember the name of it because I'm getting old. Which just tells you about the distance from radius, gives you a radii point.
I mean,
Polar coordinates, isn't it?
I beg your pardon?
Polar coordinate.
Oh, yeah, it could be. That could be it. Doesn't ring a bell, but then I'm getting old, so, don't have many bells to ring anymore.
Oh, one. It wasn't yesterday. It was Friday. Another. It was New Jillism.
Fantastic.
A usage is not a definition.
A usage is not a definition?
Yeah. He didn't clarify on that, but
interesting. Because, like, normally definitions are described as usages, not meanings, right?
Right.
Is that right, or something like that?
Yeah, they're usually described as usages, denoting the fact that a word, a sound, right, a series of symbols can have different meanings.
Yeah. Well, what's the phrase then? What's the phrase I'm thinking of?
Tallywhacker.
No,
I'm not sure.
no.
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Words have usages, not definition. No, that's not right either.
Words have usages, not meanings.
Yeah, that's what I said, but I'm not sure that's right.
I just go, this is English, not French.
Well,
totally confusing.
To be fair, there's a lot of English which is French.
Yeah. Well, there are individual words that are adopted.
C'est la vie.
I don't actually. I've never checked in if it's still the case, but I was taught that it was the case when dictionaries were first being made, that English dictionaries were trying to describe how the language was used, and French dictionaries were trying to prescribe how you should use language. Am I wrong in that? That's why I always say this is English and not French.
So you'd have to say it again if you wanted me to understand it.
Basically, it means back when dictionaries were being made, the English dictionaries were saying this is how people use these words. And then the French dictionaries were saying this is how people need to use these words.
I see. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know about that, because the guy that did the English dictionary was a narcissist extreme, it seems. Can't remember his name again. I refute it thus. Anyway, he basically wrote his own. He was very thorough, right? And he got paid to do the dictionary. But some of his words, some of his definitions were very, like, this is how I use it. So, yeah, they weren't very, like, what we'd call studious. Although he was a studious man. I'm going to have to find out who it is. Doctor. He was a doctor.
Merriam-Webster?
No.
Oh, okay.
Johnson.
Oh, yeah, Doc Johnson.
Dr. Johnson. Now, let's see if I'm right.
I presume.
It's Johnson. English writer.
Doc Johnson still makes some really good products.
Samuel Johnson.
Serves a doctor.
Well, heck, I'm a doctor. I just don't have any official, paper to say that. But I like to call myself that.
I'm a dream surgeon.
That's right.
Often called Dr. Johnson, so I'm right there, right? Poet, playwright, essay, moralist, lyricist, eminent biographer, and lexicographer.
I'm an unlicensed gynecologist. Spooky knows all about him. You're spitting all kinds of great knowledge.
Dr. Merriam, were Merriam and Webster both doctors, though?
I don't think either one was a doctor.
Yes, it was him, in fact. A dictionary of the English language, he wrote. Took him like 10 years or something to do it. Anyway, yeah, I'm surprised. Surprised because I got my license from Spooky.
Your
All I
medical
know
license,
is
your license to practice medicine?
No, gynecology.
Oh. I'm not a doctor, but I'll have a look.
And Spooky's agreeing it was Dr. Johnson, yes.
now.
He was born in the Midlands, was he really?
Oh, yeah. Dr. Johnson.
I know he
Which
had some
dictionary?
pithy
Go ahead.
quotes. Oh, go no, the first English dictionary.
Well, I don't know if this was the well. It's like along those lines, but it's different. Which dictionary is the Mel Gibson movie about? That can't be the first English dictionary.
I didn't know there was a Mel Gibson movie about it.
Yeah, which Mel Gibson movie are you talking about?
I'll look it up for you.
White Squall?
No.
Okay.
The one with that he was partner with Danny Glover?
No.
Lethal Weapon?
Yeah.
No, neither one said it. No.
Those were pretty good movies, I gotta admit.
Yeah, they
They
were.
made me laugh at the time.
Oh, The Professor and the Madman is the Mel
Never
Gibson
heard of
movie.
it.
Pretty decent movie. It has is it Sean? Yeah, Sean Penn's in it.
Oh, wow.
Him and Sean Penn
Who's
are the
who?
leads.
Penn is clearly the madman.
Who's the madman?
Yeah, Penn does play the Madman. Yeah.
Oh. Why is he mad?
Because he's insane. He's in an asylum.
Oh, does he get out?
I don't think so.
Maybe post-mortem. I don't know if they still, had their own graves, their own cemetery back then.
Oh.
Sir, you're going to have to come up with a really good definition of existence that'll totally slap Jill around.
Okay. So there's a few quotes from this man here. Would you like to hear a couple of quotes from the great Dr. Johnson?
I'm waiting with bated breath.
Okay. No man but a blockhead ever wrote it except for money.
Ever what? Wrote it?
Ever wrote except for money.
Oh.
So,
okay.
The chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken.
Oh, I've heard that before. I didn't know it was him that said it, though.
How about this one for you, sir? Words are but the signs of ideas.
Words are but the that's pretty heavily metaphorical, but I'm going to go with yeah, sure, okay.
How about this one? My dear friend, clear your mind of cant.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I can do with that.
Can't.
Yeah. Well, it's spelled wrong here because these guys are fucking ignoramuses, but he meant K-A-N-T.
That's why it's called Canada instead of Canada.
Oh, love it. Love is the wisdom of a fool and the folly of the wise. He was a bitter man.
That's pretty true, though. I'd have to agree with that one.
How about one for... I haven't read to the end of it yet, but maybe one for Joe. Knowledge is of two kinds. We know a subject ourselves, or we know where we can find information upon it. Yeah, one doesn't go down well, sorry. Thought that was going to be funnier than it turned out to be.
Serb's definition of exists equals all that exists. I'm not sure, Jill, but I think what you were looking for there was Serb's definition of existence equals all that exists. Maybe. I don't know.
No, you got it right. He's just being dumb.
About this one. Okay. Nature has given women so much power that the law has very wisely given them little.
Good point.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 18th century, so there you
go. That was his definition. Bye-bye, Jill. Game over. You won again. Congratulations.
what did you say? Game over. About nothing. And his definition.
That was his
definition.
Was his
definition. Bye-bye.
Well, that was almost his definition.
Run away, Jill. Run away.
You got about 90% of it correct.
Okay, your manuscript is both good and original, but the part that is good is not original, and the part that is original is not good.
It's nothing like a good joke, and that was nothing like a good joke.
Anyway, the great Samuel Johnson. Oh my God, he's got more quotes than anything. The man was a.
Okay, different guy. I finally went to look up the movie's not about the same guy, about a different guy.
Oh, okay, cool. What was it about then?
I'm forgetting the name of. Oh, it was the Oxford English Dictionary, the story of its creation.
Oh, the Oxford English Dictionary. Okay. He attended Oxford, as it goes. This guy. Okay, so often called Dr. Johnson, was an English writer who made a lasting contribution as a poet, playwright, lyric, lexicographer. The Oxford Dictionary of National Biography calls him arguably the most distinguished man of letters. I don't know. Dictionary of the English Language appeared in 1755. So I don't know whether that predates or not.
Well, American Heritage Dictionary and Merriam-Webster both give circular definitions for existence, but Wikipedia says existence is the state of participating in reality.
Yeah.
Well, that's dubious.
What business does the state have of participating in reality?
Not that kind of state. Gee whiz.
If you're trying to find it, if you go into ontology, they'll usually have both.
Okay.
Like ontological text. But most of it's going to be people arguing about the predicate version of the word, because that's where the debate is.
Okay.
If you if you get the Oxford Philosophy Reference Dictionary, my definition I think is actually the first one listed.
What would Steve McRae say?
It says a common distinction is between the existence of an entity and its essence.
Yeah. I think he would say, have you ever read Draper? Sub?
I've never read Draper, no.
No, okay.
No, I haven't.
That's
I
why
would-
you are a mere. Well, I don't know. I can't think of the word, but whatever it is, it's mere.
Philosophically uneducated.
Thank you, Thomas. That's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah, if there was ever a philosophical text that I haven't read, and it was him asking me if I've ever read it, it would put me off.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to read it at that point.
Well, there's a funny thing about this, which is Nick contacted Draper, sent him an email and asked him about it, and Draper said, "I'm not interested." So I thought, oh yeah, okay. The guy that Steve is pointing at just went, "No, it's just, that's not what it's about. You just misunderstand my piece." You know. So I thought that was quite funny. Speaking of which,
interested.
I must send Nick an a message.
Oh, I found out something today that upset me when I woke up and was reading the news. Well, it wasn't from the news, but I dug into something I read in the news.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering why the UK hadn't made like a large trade deal since Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that they had negotiated a large trade deal with the United States.
Right.
And they were coming over to sign the deal to then have it be presented in front of Congress to be ratified on January 6th. So then, because shit was happening, they didn't sign it. So that kind of pissed me off. But then there's the second part that pissed me off. They came back.
Oh, you.
Why didn't they just sit in Canada for a day? Yeah, they could have signed Canada. Wait.
Yeah,
for
they could have.
vote.
They could have. But they came back later after Biden was finally put into office. Biden decided to make the deal worse.
Yeah.
So then they didn't sign it. That pissed me off a second time.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, that explains fucking January 6th right there.
Yep, that was a false flag just so that we couldn't sign a good trade deal.
Exactly. Somebody should be digging into this. There's fucking.
Yeah. Thanks, Deep State.
No one released what was on the trade deal either. So that it's not, it doesn't exist anywhere. It was just the few people that negotiated it know, and whoever else saw it when it was being negotiated, but then it didn't get reported anywhere.
I'm starting to feel like it was a false flag operation.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that make it a true flag operation?
We don't say that in the Deep State. We just say false flag.
Yeah, false. It paints a bit like there's true, and yes, false is true, but there's a difference between true and false.
Yeah, we're using multi-value logic.
Right. They're both true, but as we went over earlier, words have usages
and not definitions.
Not meanings.
That's right.
Two different usages of the same word.
That's ironclad, irrefutable. Game over.
Do you know what thesauruses eat for breakfast?
Don't tell us.
Synonym rolls.
Hey. Oh yeah, good one. Yeah, good one.
I got
cinnamon rolls.
Synonym.
Yeah, same difference. Yeah.
Well,
it was a nice one I heard like that. Another thesaurus joke. I can't remember it exactly, but it was something like this. Hang on a second. It was something like, my wife says I spend too much time with my thesaurus.
Mm-hmm.
I told her she was just annoyed, displeased, or hostile.
So basically, a bitch.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that. That was a good one.
Okay, I need to clear the palate that is my brain, and I said this before.
Won't take long.
What's the fastest way to burn some calories?
Sex.
Petrol.
No. Set a fat kid on fire.
Okay, along the same lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Words have usages. I have sausages. Spooky Better, 2024.
And there's the setting. I turned the ding on. I found the ding setting.
The ding setting. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Those that burn sausages are those that use sauces.
Mm-hmm.
Grilling in the name of.
Gotta love some rage.
Yeah. There was. Oh fuck. Let me see if I can find this. I sent it to someone the other day. Where is it? You'll like this, Serb, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Why isn't that? Yeah, that's better. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just taking me a little while to set up.
All right. Well, while you're setting it up, which bear is the most condescending?
Oh, which bear is the most condescending?
A panda.
A panda.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not even a good dad joke. It's a bad dad joke.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify. You do teach college students and not second graders, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If they're freshmen, there's really not that much difference.
Correct.
Okay, tell me when you're ready.
We're ready.
Yeah?
Yep.
So you have to read the titles. Is it big
One
enough for you to read?
One digestion.
Yeah, they need to own it. Those are all great names.
We are.
Yeah.
Obesity.
That is just mean.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
They really need to play a live version of Kinda Loosed by Rammstein. If you've seen that video. They all come in huge fat suits and limos and.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the video. And they all rock out in a circle for a little while. The guy has a pretend heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I got the song in my head. Okay.
So why are the banks failing, sir? What's going on? Why is that all of a sudden?
Oh, well, the ones that
back
are
in the news?
The ones that are failing are like niche banks. Like they do loans to specific services. So they don't have how do I put it? They don't have a bunch of let's say assets. They don't have a bunch of assets to leverage for their loans. And they've all been giving out super low interest loans because the interest rate has been so low. Now that the interest rate's going up, they can't get credit to cover those loans at a rate lower than the loans they were giving. So now their balance sheet's like all tipped over. They run out of money. And because a lot of these banks are not part of the Federal Reserve System, they don't have the ability to just go to the Federal Reserve and go, hey, I need a big giant loan I don't have to pay back for 30 years.
Okay. Here you go. We'll just call it a reset.
Yeah.
Let's just reset.
The reason why it's back in the news is because the Federal Reserve opened up like emergency relief loans.
Oh,
and they're all about to end. Like that's all about to end. So all these little banks that were being kept afloat by this won't have it anymore. So they'll either collapse or they'll have to do something.
You know what I want to do? I want to make up a bank that doesn't exist anywhere but on paper. And get one of these loans.
Well, that would be really hard. You have to pay in. Is it 100,000? I have to look it up again. You have to pay in a ton of money to get into the system.
You better have a regulator as a brother-in-law.
It's all right. You can always borrow it.
Yeah, I mean that's how most banks start.
From yourself.
They get investment capital, or they're just independently rich already.
Have you ever seen Margin Call, Cerberus?
Is that a movie, or you mean?
Yeah,
it's taking a Margin Call.
Demi Moore in the.
Oh, I don't think so.
And Kevin Spacey.
Does she take her clothes off?
No, I don't think so. Not in that one.
No, I haven't seen that one then.
Yeah. I just watched it last week for the first time, and it was pretty fucking. It was pretty interesting. Do you want me to give you the cliff notes?
Well, I mean, I think it's in the title.
Basically, yeah. But it kind of goes through the personal end of how all that shit works.
Oh, okay.
And Kevin Spacey basically knows he just fucked fucked a bunch of people over, but the company's going to keep him, and they're just going to go on and do the whole fucking thing over again. And Kevin Spacey's boss is basically telling him, because Kevin Spacey kind of has remorse or whatever, and his boss is like, look, this is the way it always works. The system has people like us and people like them, and we build these companies, and when the shit hits the fan, some people end up on top and some people end up on the bottom, and that's just the way it is. So we might as well end up on top.
Yep. It's like the same at some gay clubs I've heard about.
Yeah.
Those are the ones Midnight likes, I think.
Probably.
There are some where everyone's equal and they end up in a train. Choo-choo.
Wow. But who gives the caboose a reach around at that point?
Oh.
The caboose doesn't need a reach around. He's the one in the rear.
Whoa.
It's the engineer that needs the little
He's the
tug.
one reaching round.
Yeah.
Oh,
Choo.
I don't know. I think Midnight would be too shy to have that many people going around.
Probably.
That seems more
got
like a
private
Danny thing to
rooms.
me.
yeah.
Yeah.
You are not wrong there.
What if you were in a swing on a train?
Oh, that's definitely a Danny thing.
What if we were in a swing on a train? I'm not sure where you're going with that.
It was a reference to a story Danny told.
Yeah. You were there as well.
No, I have no idea who Danny is.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
he's told the same story a few times.
You need to meet Danny.
Yeah.
You can say what you want about him, but he has. I like his mind. He has a fucking. He's quick, and he has a lot of facts, fucking readily available to him at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean a lot. He's got a lot of shit packed away in his short-term memory.
Okay. Is that where he keeps it?
I guess.
I mean, he's had a lot of heads in him, so I would probably, you know.
He certainly packed a lot in his short life.
And for anyone watching, we're not making fun of Danny for being gay at one point. We're poking fun at Danny for being a whore.
Yeah.
Does he have a doctorate? Do you know?
I don't know. I know he said he was teaching.
He doesn't have a doctorate.
Teaching.
I heard he was studying to be a proctologist.
He could get that degree just based off lifetime experience.
Yeah.
Things are looking up.
No, he does not. I doubt he finished his degree.
Yeah, I was wondering. His story changed a little bit a few times, so I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, as far and then taught whatever it was, like I can't remember whether he said it was a girls' school or, yeah, I think it was like girls up to 14 or something like that, or 16. And because they were young kids, you don't have to be qualified in the subjects that you teach.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you just have to be a Christian.
Pretty
Oh,
much.
that Danny.
Oh,
I know who you're
that-
talking about now. The
Yeah.
one that lives in Louisiana and has a Chinese wife.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you start talking to your students and telling them you're an atheist, and the word gets out, then you get fired.
Especially when you put it on your TikTok. Let everybody know about your
Yeah.
TikTok.
Basically.
Right.
And then you really regret your decisions and stop being gay.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it would have been useful to stop being gay before you got fired.
I don't think the gay was anything to do with being fired, because I don't think
Is
that
this-
was out,
Is his Chinese wife a man?
No,
No.
No, I don't think so.
no.
Okay.
It was my impression that he had like a bachelor's or something that he was teaching, and then obviously he got fired. And I think he said he was back in school.
Well, he said various things to different people. I think this was one of the things. He said Leo told me that he had a PhD. No,
Oh no.
No. And then when I asked him about it, he said he was working towards one.
Me
Could have
too.
been. I mean, yeah, you can go right into a PhD program from having a doctorate. He doesn't have to go through a master's first.
Bachelor's is what.
Well, I don't think he has a master's a doctorate. He doesn't have a degree in philosophy, as far as I'm aware.
Oh yeah, I don't think he does, but I think that's what he was claiming he was getting.
Yeah, I
Wasn't
think
it?
he said he was
Yeah.
working towards it. Yeah.
Because I remember
that was
apologizing
part
to
of
him for
working
that.
towards it. But I don't know. It's not something you casually do. I had a friend who went to Oxford, in fact, and to do physics. And when he came back, I said, so I saw him after a couple of years. And I said, oh, how's it going? And he said, oh, well, I've decided I'm going to delay the physics degree by a year so I could do philosophy and get a philosophy degree. I went, oh, okay, it's amazing. And then I saw him again a couple of years after that. And I said, oh, how did it go? And he went, the philosophy degree just really fucked me up. I never got my physics degree.
Well, yeah, it's up. You don't just start through your physics degree and go, you know what, philosophy. I'm going to take a break for a year and just get that.
Yeah.
Some
and
people
then get
do.
anything done.
Oh, he did. He did get it. He got his philosophy degree, but he just couldn't go back to physics.
Oh, he did. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, he went to Oxford. So.
Oh, well, I'm thinking Danny. I don't know why I was thinking Danny.
No, this is a friend I was at school with. He was a genius. Well, he wasn't. Don't know whether he's a genius or not, but he was one of the smartest guys I know. And they literally said, even if you fail all of your exams at A level, we'll still take you.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Was he a visible minority?
I think this was probably before when that mattered.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh,
I'm
no.
ruining Brojo's hangout.
Uh-oh.
I made a conscious decision to come here, so you should be very pleased.
Oh, okay. I guess I am.
Was
I
I
was
muted
already
the whole
here.
time there? Sorry. Was I
Yes.
muted? I was, okay.
I was already here, and then he went live, and I can't just fucking run over there.
Yeah.
I could, but I like Richard.
Poor Richard. We've made him wait this whole time.
Yeah, what's new, Richard?
He was making a point about something earlier before he had a smoke.
He might be buried 2 feet into a wall trying to get a pipe to turn.
You just have to try harder. Or
Yeah,
get a young skinny apprentice and fucking jam him in there.
He's on his way.
Right on.
Danny, yeah? He knows a lot about jamming pipes in there.
His name's Christian, but he fits Danny's description except for hair length.
Does he know how to handle a pipe?
No idea.
Oh. All right.
But just make sure when he gets back there and starts trying to bend the pipe in, just as he starts to do it, just make sure to yell out, if you break it, you buy it.
Yeah, right. Did someone ask something of me? I was laying down half listening.
No, I said, poor Richard, we've been sitting here making you wait while we're talking about all the other subjects.
That's okay. That happens.
Wait for what? To go to Brojo's?
No, wait for it to get back on religion.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, just take heart. Everything is religion.
It all goes back to religion.
Yeah, it does. The ontological primary.
Do you know why there's religion?
Because if there weren't be, there would be?
No. I can tell you why there's religion in one word. Death.
Oh,
That's
yeah, you said that
true.
on that other stream.
That's not true.
Yeah, on the other stream you said fear of death.
Well, pretty much basically all religion. That's all it does. Afterlife. Fear of death.
It's not
where it all
my
started.
rationale.
See, I would have said power or dominance.
That's how it's been used.
Nah. Deep down, we all want to think that when we're dead, that there's something else.
Well, if there isn't, what was the point? So then you have to get into that to determine whether or not nihilism is sufficient.
I don't think nihilism is sufficient. No.
Like, does
I just
anything
think
we
it's
do
a
really
shame.
matter?
Pardon me?
Does anything that we do really matter if we're going to be gone later? Like, what was the point of even temporarily having an experience?
The point is life. The point is I had that experience.
But if there won't be any history of it because everything breaks down and there's like no history, then what was the point?
The point was right now. The point was right now. That's the point.
Right.
Not what happens after you're fucking dead.
So,
the point is right now.
Yeah. Okay, so the point, then you got me saying it now. Famous quote. Hey, hey, my, rock and roll will never die. So famous nihilist said that.
I think religion is a cultural technology used to make people feel better about things they don't understand from the apparent reality around them, and thus is made to keep people together.
See, but to make that argument, you have to assume that we wrote them.
Or that they were created.
We use them.
Yeah. Other people could write them, but yeah, you have them.
Who's we?
Well, now you're just talking about usage. You're not talking about an intent.
Right.
Well, that would be the intent to create them.
But then you have to identify who the creator is.
Yeah.
Words don't have intent; they have usages.
Yes, when people use words, they often have some kind of specific intent. The words themselves have no intent.
Then the words are meaningless. I think music has something to do with it all, too.
Can.
Battle for the Mind by William Sargent proves that. Rhythmic drumming and ecstatic dancing definitely have a lot to do with religion.
Ooh, ecstatic dancing.
Yeah.
Is that like when the pastor says, "Be gone, demon," and you shake?
No, it's like, like when you yawn and then that becomes infectious. Well, in this case, it was when tribes would like beat a drum rhythmically, and then they get their cardio up, and then they start shaking, in their just wiggling and that, and then they all start dancing around in a circle.
Yeah, feeling the music. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that has more to do with why religion is practiced the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I could agree with a statement like that. A path of discovery of what people find interesting.
Well, DT just said that he thought the music was involved with it, and so I was just pointing that out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, it has many different things, but one of them I think is morality. Teaching the young, not teaching the young morality, but enforcing morality onto the young.
Okay.
So basically, that's why.
What did you say? Do you think that's important?
Yeah, it's forcing. That's really the primary function, I think, of religion, is to force the scared into rightful action.
Oh, right on. I get it now. Yeah, it worked on me for a long time, for sure.
And it's a natural human thing, right? It's like they say, if you have like if you think you're being watched, you're more likely to do the right action.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the primary kind of.
And what would you say about all the religions before there was, say, like gods, for example?
What do you mean?
Like,
I don't think there were any before.
Animism?
Before gods?
All the different animisms?
Well, I think that's still forcing people to do rightful action, but I don't think that they're gods in the capital G sense. I think ancestor worship is really the first kind of one. But if animism is basically just anthropomorphizing, like lightning or whatever it is, right?
Trees.
Acts of nature.
Yeah.
And I think
What about the
it
sun?
performs the same thing, right? So we shouldn't like chop down trees across Europe because we don't have any trees left. So, we think that gods reside in trees or water or, whatever. So it does the same purpose, but in a slightly different way.
See, I think that all just comes about from the religion. I think it gets tacked onto it. Like, so what? Like, why do we not cut down trees willy nilly? Well, because trees have tree spirits. Okay, but why not cut down tree spirits? Well, that's because it's coming from something else. They probably have a fundamental sort of basic understanding of right and wrong.
Well,
a tree?
No, I don't.
No, people.
Well, if you cut down trees, they may want to cut you down, and they'll start doing photosynthesis, and then what will we breathe?
Right. Then the religion forms, and then using that basic concept of morality, then you start making moral decisions about the things in your religion. But then you build up to religions that have centralized grand authorities, and then you start getting morality dictated to you from the grand authorities.
No, I don't think it's dictated. I think it's enforced.
No, I mean in the religion, like God dictates morality. Oh, yeah. There's a morality, so that's part of the religion.
Pressured.
Then it's enforced.
I think that's thrown on after, but yeah, that's what you mean, yeah. And as for the trees, I think that's more to do with and this is another thing religions are very good at, is bonding cultures with a glue which is unchanging, or at least not necessarily unchanging, but slow to change.
Yeah, that was the last part of my thing. Keeping people together.
Yeah, but in a way that's, see what I mean by it's a glue.
Yeah.
Because like if you just do what the next generation want, then who knows where we're going to end up? It could be madness, or it could be walking on the moon. So
have you ever been at the beach?
Sure.
Have you ever been at the beach and looked at the waves hitting the sand?
Sure.
And wonder how fucking long those waves have been doing that.
I thought you were going to go old school on that one. Waves come in, waves go out. Can't explain.
Tides come in, tides come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said to the geneticist once, nucleotides come in, nucleotides go out. You can't explain that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bill,
Well, as
converted
long as
it.
there have been oceans, there have been waves.
Yeah, but they're not. Each wave is new, isn't it? There's no two waves are the same. So they haven't been doing it very long.
Are they? I mean, I know what you're saying, but then we get to the point of, that guy's arrow. Like, where does a wave begin? Is that just a refraction of other waves?
I like Spooky's last comment there.
Yeah, anybody who believes in tree spirits is definitely a sap.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'll be right back. I got to feed the dogs.
It's only the same river
Yeah,
once.
or are the dogs feeding you?
Yeah.
Something like that.
They're giving you the opportunity to grow.
He's eating
Yeah, you can
for
only
3.
step into a river once. Yep.
Richard, what say you on the subject at hand?
I don't know. I lack wisdom.
Well, when do you think that an ocean wave begins?
I was sitting here thinking about it as you guys were saying that. Yeah, then you'd have to ask the question, what was the first ocean wave?
Yeah.
I'm
That
not
was
certain the question makes sense. I mean, there's waves in smaller bodies.
You're correct. There would never have been an actual first wave. It would just be a conglomeration of eddies.
Perhaps the first wave is just God saying hello.
So if there could be a wave in a smaller body, say a lake, and there are, and if it grew into an ocean, then it was once probably would have been considered a lake. But are there waves on ponds? And I'd have to say yes. So there's waves on puddles. So the first wave in the ocean was probably a wave in a puddle. And who knows, perhaps an animal went through and stepped in that puddle.
Yeah. Just make it easier because it'll be before animals, say an asteroid did it, or a meteor.
You know, I hate that explanation because it's used for so much.
Yeah.
Planet spinning on its side, planet spinning the wrong way, moon's rotating the wrong way, asteroid strike, of course.
Okay, I have a science question. I heard some Christian dude claiming the other day that you can't solve the 3-ball problem.
3-body problem?
3-body problem, that's it, yeah. Is that...
You want to speak to Danny
like
about that? He solved that a long time ago.
Okay. No, but somehow I'm taking it that doesn't mean like we can explain all the orbits of our solar. Well, I don't know about our solar system, but yeah, our solar system basically.
Can we though?
Well, we know we can predict where all the planets are going, can't we?
What about
as
the
far as
influence
their
of
orbits
Planet
are?
X? Yeah, there's some weird perturbations we can't explain. That's why we hypothesize Planet X, which they're now calling Planet 9, by the way. Just disgusts me.
Don't tell anybody.
There's a good point right there.
Don't tell anybody. But Planet...
It's not Planet X anymore.
Planet X is actually Pluto's older brother.
Well,
But don't tell anybody. Oh, it is.
No, it's not.
You'll see. You'll see when it,
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough.
next year, next season.
Next season, huh?
Okay.
New episodes.
Somebody want to tell me what the 3-body problem is, please?
If you have 3 bodies in a combined system orbiting each other in any way, then you can't. Eventually, they're going to go out of line. It's to do with chaos theory.
And there's
So
a book and a
small
TV series
perturbations.
based on it.
Yeah, small perturbations. Well, it's it's a problem with Newton's theory. It's very precise, but it turns out it can't be like that. It's actually pronounced planet 10. Yeah, so it's that basically. We can describe it with calculus, but that's not how it actually works. And the reason is people didn't know for a long time. But the reason is because of chaos theory. When you have systems which have a feedback function, then very small perturbations or changes to one body can lead to massive changes to another. So they're not stable, in other words. You know.
And I suppose it's called the 3-body problem because we don't observe it in 2 bodies, and 3 is the minimum. And if you had more than that, it could make it worse.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Although, yeah. I can't think of any. There is one, isn't there, which is like no, it's still a 3-body problem. Yeah. Mandelbrot set. It's a 3-body problem. Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm aware, that's what it is. I haven't looked it up, so you'd be better off looking it up.
No, it's good enough for me for now. Thank you.
It means I have to do it. 3-body problem.
Doesn't it have to do with something that maybe you've said this and I missed it? That there's no way to tell which planet is moving and which one and which 2 are stationary, or if all 3 of them are moving, or if 2 of them are moving and 1 is stationary, something like that.
You have to just take it for granted they're all 3 moving in relation to each other.
Okay, well, it's actually different to what I said, although it is the reason I gave is probably correct. It says, in physics and classical mechanics, the 3-body problem is the problem of taking the initial positions and velocities, or momenta, of 3 point masses and solving for their subsequent motion according to Newton's laws of motion and Newton's law of universal gravitation. 3-body problem is a special case of the n-body problem. Unlike 2-body problems, no general closed form solution exists. The resulting dynamical system is chaotic for most initial conditions, and numerical methods are generally required, presumably to solve them. Historically, the first specific 3-body problem to receive extensive study was the one involving the Moon, Earth, and Sun. In an extended modern sense, the 3 problem is any problem in classical mechanics or quantum mechanics that models the motion of 3 particles. So yeah, it's solving the motions of 3 bodies with Newton's law of gravitation, effectively. And it gives no discrete solution. So you get several solutions, presumably. There is no general closed form solution to the three-body problem, meaning there is no general solution that can be expressed in terms of finite number of standard mathematical operations. Moreover, the motion of three bodies is generally non-repeating, except in special cases. So I was roughly right.
Heretic was nowhere near right.
He never is. I don't know where that came from. Did you asked him about the three-body problem, did you? Or was that just a flippant remark?
Flippant
What if
remark.
Newton's not the problem, and the problem is that gravity's not the answer?
Well, I don't know. It should be, according to Newton. Just
Love
means
will find
Newton's
a
not
way.
right. That's all. And it's hard to conceive why it's wrong. That's the problem. You know?
And by wrong, we mean we can do the math, but it doesn't apply in reality, right? That's what we mean by wrong?
Yeah, effectively.
Okay.
Effectively. And Hillary's right. The word perturbation is the word used to describe minor change or minor or parts of the calculations which aren't taken into account because they're so small.
Right.
Not just that they're negligible, but they're too small to be taken into account. And yet they build up over time and make a big change to a system. So
there's how I took it when he said it.
Yeah.
Russ never sleeps.
Yeah, a great nihilist said that.
Well, Mr. DuPont said you can transform rust and it will sleep.
A great rubberist.
True.
You can lead a horticulture, but you can't make her think.
Horticulture.
Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah, great bard band.
OBCD. I just got that.
You just got that. OBCD.
Yes. I thought it was just a play on like AC/DC.
It is, yeah.
And OB was for obese. And I hadn't figured out what the CD was for until just now. OBCD! OBCD!
I like the other one I liked in there was Picnic at the Disco.
Nope, went right by me. Picnic at the Disco.
There's a band called Panic at the Disco.
Oh.
You might have been out having a smoke, I think. They're fairly large dudes.
Right, I'll be right back. I just have to go and do something a sec.
I gotta have a cup of coffee. Wow, it's like 10 to 8 here, and it's just getting just about dark.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Wait, for you, it's still light
Yeah, just
at almost
barely.
8 o'clock at night?
Yeah, it's 10 to 8 right now, and it's dusk right now.
So, oh, that's right. That describes why I'm in a temperate zone. Never mind.
Only a white man would cut a foot off the top of a blanket and sew it on the bottom of the blanket and think he had a longer blanket.
Only a white man?
Yeah, that was a Native American chief. I can't remember which one that said that about daylight savings time.
Oh. That's not the point. It's not to make the blanket longer.
Of course not.
Well, then that was a foolish thing to say.
No, it was actually a really smart thing to say, and
No, it's not.
Basically a slap in the face of a white man.
No, it's to take advantage of what hours there are daylight for farming and such.
It's the same amount of fucking daylight every fucking day. Doesn't matter what the clock says.
What he's really saying is we don't care to have a nationally accepted time. That's what he's actually saying.
No, that's not what he's saying at all.
He's saying white people have an agreed upon time of day. That's all that meant.
No, and the Native Americans can agree on that. Sure.
What did I come back to?
It's just like saying we never invented or accepted clocks, which is true even today. The locals even make a joke about it, calling it Indian time. Oh, you were 3 hours late. Well, I was on Indian time.
Every year, the longest day of the year is right around June 21st, and the shortest day of the year is right around December 21st.
Yes.
And I don't give a fuck what you do with your clock, and neither does the Native American. No matter what you do with your clocks are perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to get any more hours of daylight than are already going to be there.
Right. That's not the point of daylight savings time. That's not what daylight savings time does. And white man doesn't think that's what daylight savings times does.
White man is a
native man said was stupid.
To the clock. White man is slave to the clock.
Yeah, because a white man agreed with white man that there would be such things as standardized time.
Only a white man would do that.
Okay, now the statement makes sense. But it had to be changed to make sense.
What?
Pixie.
You can have standardized time without having daylight savings time. Daylight savings time.
Oh, her mic went out, or connection went bad.
Okay, no, sorry. Can you hear me?
Peace and respect, yes.
Hey, so you can have standardized time without daylight savings time, right? Like that's not a requirement to have standardized time. All standardized time means is that we are measuring it consistently and in the same manner, globally speaking, right? Like we all have the same mechanisms going on. There's no differences, but. And daylight savings time has historically been blamed on a lot of different sects, including farmers, right? But the truth is, I would say the harms it has caused outweighs any of the good that it has arguably brought, and I don't see that it has brought any good, right? So that's my opinion on the matter.
Do you think that the general populace who have throughout history used daylight savings time believes that they are making the day longer?
It's not necessarily the day so much as the work day, and that's a whole nother story.
Well, why does it make the work day longer?
You know, I don't know, but that's like a lot of the excuses they used, right? They blamed it on the farmers, and they said, "Oh, because
it's been true
we need, the daylight. We need to protect the daylight hours, right?" They did it for factory workers. They blamed it on a lot of people, but yes, historically they like to blame it on the farmers.
Okay, but
which is a weird thing. It's a
farming.
weird thing.
I was on
It
a
applies
toilet,
to farming
so
and ranching.
if I can throw my thing in about DT, I think the chief was pointing out the artificiality of claiming that man controls time. And so by naming it one thing or another, it's just BS. As far as farmers never wanted daylight savings. They would agree with the Native American. You work when the sun is up and you go home when it's not. It was Benjamin Franklin who came up with daylight savings in order to save on lamp oil. And so, yeah.
The sun shines.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Richard is correct. It would make more sense instead of having standardized shop hours to just say, hey, 2 hours after the sun comes up, that's when we're going to open.
Yes. Nobody believes it makes the day longer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say that that actually, again, it makes the work day longer, and that has
hours.
But right, exactly, the usable hours, the work day, not the day itself, and those are two different things. But right. I will
daylight available during
again, it's just it's ridiculous though, right? It just seems absolute, it seems unnecessary.
Why only a white man would do
it? It just seems wholly unnecessary.
All I have to do is get up with the sun. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Hakuna Matata.
Well, but then again, Americans are uniquely invested in punctuality. Well, I guess not uniquely. There are some others. There are some Asian cultures that are very punctual, but in a lot of other cultures, if you are on time, you are really fucking weird. If you get an invitation, if you're in Spain, or you're in certain parts of Mexico, or you're in anyway, if you get an invitation for 7 and you show up at 7, people think you're really fucking weird. There's something wrong with you. If you get an invitation for an event that starts at 7, people expect you to be there about 8:30, 9-ish.
But is 6 o'clock acceptable?
How long are there?
Well, I mean, I guess, but they're really not quite ready for you, right? They set a time, but it's the culturally, people know that they set this time, but they're setting this time, allowing you to have time to for business to take too long, or for this to roll over, or for that traffic jam to clear up. So they may say 7, but they really mean 8:30.
So 7 really means we won't even open the door before 7, but you're kind of a jerk if you show up between 7 and 8 because we aren't ready for you yet.
Yeah, unless you're helping set up, right, and stuff like that. It's one of those they give you a time before it starts because they allow you to have things that run over and things that island time, I guess.
Island time, yeah.
Except, but that's their whole culture, right? And they're not as obsessed with punctuality as Americans are, right? Like if you come to work and you're like 10 minutes late to work on a daily basis, it's not a big deal, right? You're getting your work done every day. You're there for the hours you're supposed to be there, right? So they don't really care.
Can't believe you said Americans.
Americans are uniquely obsessed with.
Oh, there are American nations who don't care about time much at all.
Okay, North American.
Young Americans.
That's fair.
It used to be my people would wake up with the sun and go to bed with the sun. We'd hunt and fish and fuck every day. Only white men can improve on that.
Why do you ask, two dogs?
Oh, I thought you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna go into the creed, what they jokingly call the 10 Commandments, the native 10 Commandments.
No, it is a quote, but I don't remember who's it from.
Well, one of them is rise and retire with the sun, right? Yeah, follow the rhythms of nature, rise and retire with the sun. I think that's number 9.
I think it was Red Fang.
I've done it. It's a decent way to live. It works out.
Yeah, I forgot who.
What are they? See if I can still name them all. One is the earth is our mother, care for her. 2 is honor all your relations. 3 is open your heart and soul to the Great Spirit. I know that one because I never got that one. I don't have a God or a Great Spirit, so I failed that one. So I know that one. Number 4, all life is sacred. Treat all beings with respect. Number 5, I know that one.
Oh.
That one's take from the earth what is needed and nothing more. What is 6? Truck.
Sounds Amish.
Do what needs
like how
to
do
be
you drive
done
a
for the good
fucking
of others.
car? How do you drive a car if all life is sacred?
I don't know. Do what needs to be done for the good of others. That's number 6. Number 7, I also failed this one. Give constant thanks to the Great Spirit. I failed there. Number 8, speak the truth, but only of the good in others. I failed that one. Number 9 is follow the rhythms of nature, rise and retire with the sun. And 10, I absolutely love number 10, but I also think it's impossible. And that one is enjoy life's journey, but leave no tracks.
Sounds like whoever wrote that did a lot of camping.
It just means don't destroy the earth. It basically just means don't destroy the earth.
Anyway, I remembered all 10 of them. I did get stuck for a minute on number 6, though. That took a little too long to remember.
Pixie. Hello, Pixie. And what were you reciting there?
People jokingly call it like the Native American 10 Commandments because it can be broken into 10, but originally it was just called like the Native Creed or something.
Oh, okay. Oh, I wasn't far.
I don't like 9. Speak the truth.
I have. No, that's not number 9.
Others.
That's number 8. I have trouble. I sometimes have trouble with that one, but the ones that I have a lot of trouble with are number 3, number 7, and number 9.
Bingo.
What does it say about bingo?
Don't gamble.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, no problem gambling.
Did you hear about the Native American he was going into town and his buddy, the other Native American, was coming back from town. And he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I just went into town to get blankets for my horses. What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm going into town to get a jug of wine for my wife." And the other guy says, "Good trade."
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
It's not bad. Okay, well, you see what you did there.
Did you hear about the fire on the Indian reservation?
I didn't know.
It was intense.
Huh. Nice, nice. That one works with Boy Scouts as well, by the way.
The fire at the Boy Scout camp. That's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That was intense. Is that a pun or a
No
bon
idea. I am far too tired now.
bon mot?
I only got 4 hours sleep last night.
That's more than I got.
Anyway, anybody see that TMM video about Matt Powell?
No.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
Recent?
He's an idiot. Yeah. About a few hours ago.
I like TMM.
I know. I don't know about TMM. I know I've heard the name Matt Powell, but I don't know that. Like, I can't put a face to the name. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes.
So I don't really know anything about any of that.
Think of Sonny Jim.
Think Gormless 16-year-old guy. A Gormless 16-year-old guy. And you won't
16-year-old Opie from Mayberry RFD.
Let me bring it up for you. You know. Oh my word. Sorry. Do.
Can you play video when there's already 6 people in?
I can always leave.
No, I mean, I'll just put myself on the back while the video plays.
You should be able to share, even with 6, as I remember. Here we go.
It's nice to share.
Yeah, there you go.
Here's Matt Powell with a response to atheism.
If I was to tell you that a rock appeared in this room that I'm filming in from nothing, you would say that I am not a valid source of information, that I've bought into a lie.
Yeah, but if you were to say that God made a rock appear out of nothing, that would also disqualify you as a trustworthy.
He looks like the Blue's Clues guy, but like on crack.
Completely non-physical one at that.
Well, that's exactly what atheism is. It's the idea that everything could have appeared from nothing with no God. That is a belief in magic. That's mysticism and sorcery. That is not science.
I don't believe that there ever was nothing. There was never a time that nothing existed. Therefore, I do not believe that the universe came from nothing. The universe has always been here. It's been here for all of the 13.7 billion years that time has been passing.
And so I've actually asked certain atheists, would you become a Christian?
Yeah, he doesn't understand he's arguing against his own position.
If Christianity were true, and they will say no.
What do you mean by become a Christian? If being a Christian does not merely mean that you believe that Christianity is true, what does it mean?
And that shows us that they're more about emotions. They're more about feelings and experiences instead of demonstrated fact.
Since I don't understand what it means
Jill,
for God.
Wait, isn't that the opposite?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
I don't-
anti-biblical. Yeah, he
I mean,
should say, well, unless God regenerates them, they can't become
his
Christian.
well, his feelings about his faith and how he feels about his relationship with God, right? Like how he feels about the safety of his immortal soul. These are things that are all of great consequence to him, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that none of these things are able to be demonstrated in fact, right? Like it's all about how he feels.
Since I don't understand what it means for God to exist, I don't know what it would mean for Christianity to be true, so it's impossible for me to say whether I would become a Christian if I believed in the tenets of that religion. Would it mean worshiping God? Even if you could demonstrate it to be a fact that God exists, if I don't feel compelled to worship him, then the best I could do is go through the motions of worshiping him. If you don't feel like God is worthy of worship, any worshiping you do would be insincere, no matter what you believe the facts to be.
Look, if you're an atheist, there's no way to determine what's right and wrong. And so everything is based on feelings. Remember, it's about a feeling rather than what fact is and what science has shown us and the things that we can know for sure. It's more about emotions.
What do you mean by right or wrong? Do you mean moral right and wrong, or do you mean factually correct and incorrect? Those are two different things. You don't need a God to discern what is correct from incorrect. And I think you do need to consider feelings to have morality. I have no interest in any moral system that doesn't put the relief of suffering, which is a feeling, especially the suffering of those who suffer the most, ahead of any other consideration. If God doesn't command us to prioritize relieving the suffering of those who suffer the most, then I'm not going to care about his moral system. Why should I?
And so we're left with emotional experiences and just feelings that would tell us what to do if there is no God. And a lot of people are going to have a lot of different feelings. And so it's going to be nothing but.
Actually, Hitler was a Catholic, Roman Catholic.
Chaos if we take an atheistic perspective of the origin of the universe.
And so were a lot of his Nazi followers. That's why God with us was on their uniforms.
God with us actually came about like 20, 30 years earlier.
Still wore it on their Nazi uniform.
Yeah.
Belt buckle.
Yeah.
And of our existence.
Okay, first of all, that guy was not an atheist. I've never once seen any quote from him saying that he was an atheist or that he did not believe in God. He makes several references to God in that book that he wrote while he was in prison. Apologists will, of course, insist that he was lying, but that's an unfalsifiable claim. Sometimes I hear apologists bring up a book called Tischgespräche, in which he supposedly confesses his atheism. In that book, he strongly criticized Christianity, but actually rejected atheism and expressed his desire to fight against Soviet atheism. And if the result of an atheistic perspective is chaos, why don't we see that chaos in countries with low rates of religiosity? Places like Japan and Denmark have their problems, but they seem a lot less chaotic than the much more religious United States.
And one thing we need to understand is that atheists actually have the worst statistics in the world for doing some of the most reprehensible things known to man. They lead.
You're muted.
Thank you. You can see on his face he doesn't believe what he's saying right now.
He looks constipated.
For doing some of the most
lost.
See, there you go. Look at that. Look away.
Atheists actually have the worst statistics in the world for doing some of the most reprehensible things known to man. They lead the world.
In poker, we call that a tell.
Yeah.
In school shootings. Now, keep in mind, they only make up a small percentage of the population, yet they lead the world in school shootings. That means there's a correlation between atheism and school shootings.
Matt doesn't say where he gets this idea, so I did some digging, and the only thing I could find was an article on a site called crimeresearch.org that made a list of several looked at how many of the news articles covering them mentioned the religion of the perpetrator, and inferred that if interviews with the killer's family and friends don't reveal anything about their religious views, and the press can't find the killers being affiliated with any religion, at the very least, they don't have significant religious views. Not only is this a non sequitur, the mere fact that the reporters didn't see fit to mention religion doesn't mean that it wasn't significant. There's also a pretty big difference between one's religious views being insignificant and being an atheist.
Denying God, denying reality, and going and shooting up innocent people. Atheists also lead the world in drugs. Drugs put you into a fantasy land, yet they'll declare that we're living in fantasy land as Christians. But look, if your demographic is leading...
Just want to mention Catholics and wine.
leading the world in drug abuse. You're leading the world in living in a fantasy, in this euphoria where you're seeing things that don't even exist because you're in such a mind-altered state. Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to be associated with that.
I don't know where Matt gets this idea either, but if it's true, I suspect it's because atheists don't live under tyrannical Karenocracies that get all up in your business about how you spend your free time. There are many despotic places that have low rates of drug use because of their draconian laws. That's not a trade-off I'm willing to make. That's a cure worse than the disease.
Atheists also lead the world in suicide. And that's a very sad thing. That's why I don't want you to be one anymore if you are one. So if you are poisoning people's minds and telling them there's no creator, magic is real. We appeared from nothing, just like a rock appeared out of nowhere. Whole universe just appeared out of nowhere, folks.
That's what you believe. You believe that God made the whole universe appear out of nowhere. This idea doesn't become any less magical just because you add a magician to it.
When you get somebody to believe a big lie like that, that actually does affect their understanding of the world. People are so confused today, and you'll find that many will act like animals. And the reason they act like...
Look at that animal.
Because they are animals. What?
Like animals is because they believe we are animals.
Well, what are we? Plants? Of what taxonomic kingdom do you think the species Homo sapiens belongs?
Atheists also lead the world in drunkenness. Drunkenness puts you into fantasy land. It is a poison-induced experience that you get from drinking alcohol. And
how does he know that?
Right, because atheists are the ones that incorporate alcohol into their religious, ceremonies.
Yeah.
Next, he's going to tell me I can't jack off.
I'm the last one to defend Matt Powell, but we do all understand that when he's using the word animal there, he doesn't mean versus mineral and plant. All right?
Animals.
I think
I think he's trying to straw man.
No, I think he's saying we're a whole separate category, and I think that's shit because we're not. We are definitely in the animal category.
Recognize that we are of the animal kingdom, but that's not what he means colloquially by the expression a person acting like an animal, a person being an animal.
Well, then what does he mean by? But then what does he mean by? Because they think we are. Well, yeah, I do think we are animals.
Can we just
okay, so it's poor command of the English language for certain, but I think he's talking about justifiable behaviors.
Yes, you're correct, Richard.
Well, I think he stated that retardedly.
Well, I'll grant that.
Well, there's also another possible conflation that he's about to bring up.
Okay.
Right, because there's from his perspective, right, we were created separate from the animals, not through evolution.
That's what I'm saying. He seems to be creating separation between animals and humans.
I know.
I like his tie.
He does have a nice tie.
I think that's the type of tie an animal would wear.
He's got a nice haircut too.
Well, oh yeah.
Somebody groomed him really well.
Anyway, I think you're right, Richard. Yes, I think he is meaning it to be more insulting than it really is.
He looks stoned in that shot right there.
Poisonous substance into your body.
Oxygen is poison.
I guess you think it magically turns from poison into blood when you take communion, huh? Why did Jesus turn water into wine if this is such a horrible thing?
Let me tell
Peace
you,
and respect, guys.
people
Gotta go.
often
Boy,
Bye,
Later
Richard.
days.
Thanks, Richard.
Bye,
Back to
Richard. Peace be with
Dallas.
you. Go in
He's
peace
still.
to love and serve.
I still think
say
he's
that the
like a
devil
dollar store Blues Clues guy.
does not exist, yet they do things that really can only be explained by the intervention of Satan on this earth. How do you get all these terrible things that happen? How do you get all these horrible people that exist that go and trick other people? How does that happen? The existence of Satan perfectly explains why this happens.
How does the existence of Satan explain people causing each other suffering? What explains why Satan causes people to suffer? If it's because he's motivated by resentment and hate, why can't humans be motivated by those things all on their own? Why does Satan need to be involved in order to explain it?
You don't want to be proud to be an atheist because it's nothing to be proud of.
I agree. I'm not proud to be an atheist because it isn't an accomplishment, and I see no point in being proud of things I didn't accomplish. I'm an atheist because I am incapable of understanding what it means to say that a God exists. I can't help but be an atheist.
In fact, like I said, you're joining a group of people that leads the world in the most reprehensible acts that have ever been known to man.
If the global flood had really happened, there is no human act that has ever been committed that has ever caused as much harm and suffering.
And some of you atheists out there will say that Christians are hypocritical. I can't be a Christian because I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Hypocrisy isn't even wrong if there's no God. So you can't even have a moral argument in this case because there's no objective morality to begin with.
That's not a moral argument. That's just an explanation of motivation. You don't need to believe hypocrisy to be objectively wrong in order to wish to avoid it.
And then number two, just because certain Christians fail to live the Bible doesn't mean that the Bible isn't true.
Point me to a single atheist who has ever made that argument.
If I played Claire de Lune on the piano and I messed it up, does that mean that the author of Claire de Lune was a bad artist? No.
Oh, yeah.
Us Christians are fallible
Debussy
people,
was
but
pretty
we're trying
bad.
to follow an infallible.
Sorry, I'll just say that again. Yeah, it does mean that. Debussy was shite.
book.
Well, you always start with
We are
Debussy and then
imperfect.
finish on the Bach.
There's a reason for that.
We have fallen
Yeah.
short of God's grace, but we are trying to follow a perfect Redeemer, a perfect Savior. We are finite creatures as humans, but God is infinite. He is so far beyond us in understanding.
Sounds pointlessly Sisyphean to me.
On the origin of life, we win.
That seems
Christi-
like a response from somebody who missed the point of the question in the first place, right?
Hmm.
It's like when you try to point out to a Christian, right? Like you don't sin any less than an atheist sins, and they're like, "Oh, you can't have that view. You're not Christian." And I'm like, "But you missed the point. You missed the point. The point is like, why are you preaching at people as if you're better when you're clearly not? Like that's the point, but you want to make it something it's not, right? Like and it sounds like he's responding to something because he like intentionally missed the point. I don't know.
Christianity comes out on top, but they will mock the virgin birth, say, oh, how could a virgin conceive? Atheists believe that rocks conceived life.
More specifically, we see that life is made out of chemicals, and we
Yeah, conceived. Does he really not understand the birds and the bees? No one says that the rocks conceive anything. Their molecules underwent change. They exchanged electrons and other stuff. Bro just doesn't understand words.
Yeah, that's why I think, although Richard was correct about the usage of animals, I think that we can still, it wasn't beyond the wit of reason to say that he meant it in the other way as well.
Conceive.
That he was being duplicitous when, in fact, when he was using that. And
Mhm.
but yeah, there you go.
Just the idea of rocks having a sex life is hilarious.
see those same chemicals in rocks, and we infer that the chemicals that make up life came from those rocks. In fact, we can see, for example, that the sodium ions that power your nervous system sometimes come from eating salt, which is essentially a kind of rock. It's far from absurd to say that the components of life come from rocks when we can see the living processes of our bodies incorporate chemicals from the rocks that we eat.
You can look it up. You can type in online. Just type in these words. You owe your life to rock. Brings up a paper that explains why secular humanism is a valid explanation, and we descended from minerals that were eroded from rocks.
Nowhere in that article does the term secular humanism appear once. Secular humanism is not an explanation for anything. It's an ethos, not a theory about the origin of life.
Some will mock the idea that God created man from the dust of the ground, yet they believe that lightning sparked life into existence. Just like Frankenstein, just like science fiction, that lightning could create life, something that destroys life. Sparked life into existence? Are you kidding me?
More specifically, I've heard the claim that it catalyzed the formation of amino acids, which are necessary for life. The Miller-Urey experiment showed that the application of electricity to simpler compounds caused these amino acids to form. That's not the same thing as causing life to exist.
And I've also heard them say that it's ridiculous that Jesus could have risen from the dead. How could you believe that as Christians? You're crazy. Look, they think every living organism descended from dead material.
We infer that from the fact that we can see it is currently composed of non-living chemicals. Is it really all that much of a stretch to infer that organisms made entirely of chemicals came from chemicals?
I like the outro. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, he's very good.
I just don't.
Go ahead.
No matter how many times they explain their stupid shit, I don't think it does anything but move the goalpost, right? I really don't. They're like, oh, you believe in all this stuff without explanation. You believe all this stuff came from nothing, even though I don't, right? But I'm like, but you believe the same thing. You just think that this magical thing that always existed, right, created everything from nothing. So you believe the same thing. You just move the goalpost, right? And everything had to have a beginning except this thing that created everything, because that's another one of your magic loopholes. Like, I don't get it. I don't get
it. You'd be surprised how easy it is to listen to some of that tripe, and if you didn't know, then you'd go up and go, oh yeah, oh right, I see, yeah, no, they do. Yeah, they do think we're animals. So therefore they act like animals. There you go. That's
no, I think not only do I think we are animals, I think we're probably one of the least civilized and most brutal animals in the entire animal kingdom.
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah.
I didn't say the most. I said some of the most, and we are vicious things.
Okay.
I can't imagine anything scarier than another human.
Wow.
How do animals act? And how do animals act, and which animal, right? There are animals with family units. There are animals that grieve. There are animals who have entire sections of their brain dedicated to emotion and families that not even humans have, right? So acting like an animal, how?
Do they?
Yes. Orcas. Porpoises in particular, they have an entire section of their brain dedicated to family and emotion and language that humans don't even have, right? Like, and yeah, and they do have their own languages. Different pods have their own language, right? Like, it's yeah. So acting like an animal.
They're also maternal,
right? And then pack animals. Humans are pack animals. React the same way pack animals do.
Or mammals?
They are. Mammals are animals. They're a type of animal. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, and there are pack animals, right? There are animals with family units. There are animals who use tools. So like acting like an animal. How? I mean, sure we are. But there's also nothing scarier than another human being either. So I don't know.
Everyone knows that humans are mud dolls, not animals.
I think the Christian God is scarier than any human being I've ever met.
Yeah,
No,
when
he
he was
got.
talking, I was thinking, like in their God commands the destruction of women and children and putting everything to the sword. I've never heard the atheist God ever make such demands.
No, but the thing is, humans do, right? Humans make those demands. It's just like the God isn't scarier than the human because the God was built by a human to justify his atrocity. It still makes the human the
Yeah,
scary one.
but I'm attacking it from his worldview, not ours.
Yeah, I'm still saying, even then, even if you believed that Yahweh was real, right? All he can do is command. It's the human that has to carry it out and justify it to himself.
Not really.
Hmm.
He did flood the world and kill everybody but 8 people.
Well, sure,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like when David went out there and got, 200 foreskins instead of 100, like that was an active decision, right? When so at the same time when God said like you have to go kill all these people,
Right.
and then when they don't kill all these people, he punishes them even harder, and then tells them to go kill a bunch of more people, right? Like at some point, like those people still have to go do it. I'm just saying, there's nothing scarier than a human with an imagination that can justify his own bullshit to himself.
Yeah, okay.
That's
I
most
mean,
of us.
In the right context, I think some animals are pretty scary.
Well,
Yeah,
then
We're
if
not.
you mean biologicals, I would agree because we can make nuclear weapons. But like Quasar, I would be more afraid of than a human.
Well, like we're not exactly evolved to be, physically intimidating in nature.
True.
So I mean,
well,
we have to. Hang on. We have to be in our context in order to be like that, and then even then, you're talking about a small minority that potentially are somewhat psychopathic.
most
So,
most of the animal kingdom that wants to kill me does not want to torture me, right? Like,
oh, I don't know.
Yeah, most. I'd agree.
humans do.
Do they?
And I think humans have
Do
the
they?
capability
Do
of
they?
taking a particular delight
Some
in doing
humans.
so.
Yeah, like I'm
Well,
saying,
well,
maybe
okay.
Yeah.
psychopaths do, but
I will say on a day-to-day basis.
I don't think most humans want to kill you.
Hold on. I think
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
very few humans want to kill me and would take massive delight in it. However, um, I think history has proven that we also turn into like a massive like hysteria-prone herd at times. Um, and sure, not every German citizen was, shoving people into gas chambers in the concentration camps, but they sure as hell were jumping at this opportunity to turn their neighbor in. So, again, nothing's quite as scary as humans in this world, but that's my opinion.
I have a
That seems like a
question.
total non sequitur.
Why do you actually think there are a couple of humans that want to kill you? Like you specifically?
No, I think there are a couple of humans who want to kill, period, and who take delight in the pain of other people, period, whether it's me or their third grade teacher or the kid down the street.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I did mention those. That's quite a small minority of people.
Right, and I said I grant you that.
They do
That is,
exist.
I grant you wholeheartedly that is a small
But,
minority of people. I will grant you that.
if you
What
take a
it what
bath,
is
if you take a bath with virtually any shark, it's going to eat you.
what is scary is not necessarily that number of people exist, right? That those minorities exist. Not that isn't scary. That is scary enough, right? But what's really scary is you can take ordinary people,
Right.
you can scare ordinary people, and if you
Yeah.
scare them enough and you scare them in a big enough group, Every
Then
fucking
all
one
go
of
get
them will turn
vaccinated.
into every fucking one of them will turn into a monster.
Sorry.
And
Yeah.
I think,
Sorry. That
Not
was
and
I know
everyone.
what you're saying. I know what you're saying there. Yeah, you're right.
and I
Like
think
in
that
context,
right,
you're right. You know,
right, and I think
especially given like the tools of the trade, like
right,
we're
and
very good. We're very good at using tools, and that's what makes us scary.
right,
when
and
we-
if
when we
and
start using tools. But
and in
you know,
certain instances
that's what I'm saying about context.
in certain instances we will prize the brutality of something over the efficiency of something, and I think that also makes us a particular kind of scary.
Well, you're going back to psychopaths again, really.
Animals.
Yeah, there are animals that will eat you slowly so that you will live longer.
That's to keep their food fresh.
What about
right? Like that's
what
not
about
that's not like torturing you for information or because of
yeah, but they're not making a clean kill.
who your mom is, right?
Obviously.
Like,
but like you know, for instance, you know, chimpanzees, right? Well, are very dominating. They're very, very vicious. More vicious than humans, right? They will literally isolate someone if they do the wrong thing in their tribe, outcast them, and then if they see them around again, they will literally rip their genitals off.
well, I mean, we kind of do the same thing. I mean, we have prisons.
No, we don't. No, we don't. Pixie,
we don't rip their genitals off, but we have been known to. We have been known to. We have been known to
talk about one thing at a
hold
time.
Up. We have been known to chemically castrate people and isolate them from the community, right? So those are things we do.
I don't know.
Oh, I don't think we
there's
chemically castrate anymore, do we?
I think there's probably a
they're trying to bring it back.
A particular level of anger you could get me to where I would rip off your genitals first.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's interesting, sir.
Would you bite someone's face off?
Yeah, it's about on the same level, probably.
Okay, because chimpanzees, there are tame chimpanzees that are kept as pets that have bitten people's faces off.
Yeah, I go around giving people advice that they don't know how to fight, and they're not very big. The best strategy is to do your best impersonation of a howler monkey hungry for face.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you know.
What I do is I usually pull my trousers down, spread my butt cheeks.
I was gonna say one way to make me particularly violent is to, you know, treat me like a pet. So yeah, turn me into a pet and see what happens. You know, it'll probably get about the same responses that chimpanzee gave you, right? Just say.
I don't care how well trained you are. No one is ready for a screeching pixie trying to bite your face off.
That is true. All right, fair enough, Pixie. You win. You are scarier than anybody I know.
I don't know that I am, but there are a couple of people who scare me.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, we're just talking past each other there. You're talking about generalities of people in the extreme, and I was just talking about one-on-one. You know, an average person, one-on-one with an animal. Animals, obviously, they're evolved to a much longer, have been evolving for a much longer time, and they're more likely to survive than a human on his own.
That's fair. You know, I'd rather face another person than like a bear in the woods, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. Or a shark.
But at the same time, if my choice is like I walk down path A and I'm gonna get mauled by a bear, or I walk down path B and I'm gonna be tortured for 4 weeks by some crazy fucking maniac, I'm gonna go with the bear.
Oh, okay, interesting. I might go with the maniac because at least I might have a chance to talk him out of it.
No, he's gonna torture you till you die.
No chance to talk the bear out of it.
Okay, I should have said a slow death until like a slow torture until you die. Or like being mauled by a bear and then you're dead. Like I'm gonna choose the bear.
Okay. I have a suggestion. Be the bear.
Yes.
Be the bear.
Yeah. There's a good song out at the moment called Evolve. When it's one of the lines is watch out, danger. I'm the danger. There you go.
Walter White.
Mm-hmm.
I still think there's a decent chance I could take a black bear.
What was his other name? The scientist
Yeah, male or female?
name?
I'd probably rather fight the male.
You know
Unarmed?
what I'm talking about, Hillary's?
What's that, DT?
What was Walter White's fucking like pseudonym in Breaking Bad?
Heisenberg.
Oh, Heisenberg.
Yep.
Anyway, that's me out. I've got to go. Thank you very much, everybody.
Good to
You
see you,
know-
Simon.
Later
I will
days,
see you when I do.
Silos.
Good to catch up with you all.
Toot-
Thanks, guys.
Do you know how much? Do you know how much in Breaking Bad got rewritten?
I've
Like
got no
quite a
clue.
bit. Like a lot of it got rewritten actually. Like for example, Tuco was supposed to be a much bigger character. And he should have been. He was like my favorite character of the first season. He was awesome. But he got another part in another show and like anyway, caught like all this, conflicting schedules and all that, so he got killed off. So Tuco was supposed to be a bigger role. Now, Gus Fring was supposed to be a bit part. He was supposed to be a much smaller role. And the big bad guy was supposed to be Salazar, the guy that rings the bell. But that all got switched around because the guy that played Gus Fring did such a good job that they just kept him around. Also, Walter White was supposed to kill Jesse Pinkman's girlfriend. He was supposed to OD her on purpose. But they thought that they wanted people to slowly start hating him and not just hate him. And so they thought if he OD'd her, people would hate him too quickly. And so instead, they changed the script to have him watch her OD and not intervene. But originally, he was supposed to OD her. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of stuff like that. And bless their heart, the people that own the house that they used, because like in the show they changed the street name and they changed the house numbers and all that to try to keep it a secret. But the locals are from there. They know what fucking house that is, right? So like the number of times that poor lady has had to get pizzas off of her fucking roof is ridiculous. Anyway. I went to that place, the arcades. I went there. Yeah, anytime they're like shooting people in an arcade, anytime there's shots in an arcade, it was done at this place called Hinkle's, which actually has two arcades and a rock climbing wall and a laser thing and bumper cars and bumper boats and go-karts and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, but they have two arcades. One has like virtual reality games in it too. But anyway, that arcade, Hinkle's, that anytime there's arcade shots in Breaking Bad, that's where it was shot.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to take a nap. So I'm going to take this off air.
How long have you been going? Oh, for a long time.
3 hours, nearly 40 minutes.
Yeah, I have
I'm
not
gonna go.
been here that long.
I'm gonna go visit Brojo if he's still alive.
I think Brojo's still alive if people want to go.
Thanks, Service.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
I think
it.
it's just Brojo and Heretic.
I think so.
Oh, but
Heretic's
it's so
wrong.
much. It's so much work to talk right now. So I don't think I will join, but I might stop by the chat.
Okay. Well, bye everyone that's still out there, you fools.
Yep.